The time is now 5:32 on Wednesday, March 19, 2025, and this public meeting of the D.C. State Board of Education will come to order. The roll will now be called to determine the presence of a quorum. Director Butler, will you please call the roll?
Representative Barnes. Representative Lynn. Representative Mayer.
Present.
Representative Ting.
Present.
Representative Best.
Aye.
Representative Chang. Representative Colson.
Present.
Representative Boulay. Representative Henderson.
Present.
Representative Henderson. Representative Johnson Law. Representative Thompson.
Present.
Representative Williams. Representative Patterson.
Present.
Mr. President, you have a quorum. Just using my teacher voice to project now, since the mics are not working.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll do the same. A quorum has been determined, and the State Board will now proceed with the business portion of the meeting. Minutes. Go to paper. My computer wants to act up. Members, we have a draft agenda before us. Are there corrections or additions to the agenda? I understand, sir. Thank you. Seeing no discussion, the motion is to adopt the agenda. If we need to make adjustments in order to accommodate the superintendent, we do so. But seeing no discussion, the motion to adopt the agenda, can I ask for that nays and the nays?
So moved.
Thank you, Representative Thompson. So moved. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second.
It's been properly second. I believe I heard Representative Henderson first. I ask for the yeas and the nays. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? The motion is approved. We now have the minutes from the March 6th working session. Is there a motion to adopt these minutes?
Motion to adopt the minutes, Johnson
Thank
Law.
you, Representative Johnson Law. Is there a second?
Second.
Second was by Representative Ting. Thank you so much. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, the motion is to adopt these minutes. I will ask for the yeas and nays. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The motion is moved. On behalf of the District of Columbia State Board of Education, I want to welcome guests and members of the public, including those who are watching live via the District Knowledge Network, to our public meeting. The State Board holds its public meetings on the third Wednesday of each month in the old Council Chamber at 441 4th Street Northwest. This evening, we have 16 public witnesses who have signed up to share testimony. We encourage the public to sign up every month at sboe.dc.gov. On March 5th, we had our agency's performance oversight hearing. Thank you to the chairman, to Chairman Mendelson and the council for the opportunity to share about our agency and the progress and the work we've done in the past year. This month, we also had our standing meeting with Deputy Mayor Kine to share updates and discuss areas of collaboration. Additionally, we discussed next steps for updating the district's high school graduation requirements in our meeting with Deputy Mayor Kine and Dr. Mitchell. We look forward to collaborating with all our partners across the education cluster on these critical endeavors. Now, well, we will move to after the panel because the superintendent's not here. Okay. We will now move to our expert panel. Our panelists will share their perspectives about DC, of how DC can expand student access to advanced coursework. We are pleased to welcome you all who are here to be a part of our expert panel. If you are here in person, please come to the table when I call your name. Corey Cogan, I believe. Thank you, Corey. Kathy Riley, of course. Sine Ha Coltrane, I believe that's a virtual testimony. And Maureen Stover, which is also virtual, I believe. Each of you will have up to 5 minutes, and then we will move for one round of questions from the State Board. We will begin with Ms. Riley.
Okay,
Begin when you're ready.
okay. Do I need to push this first?
It's on, ma'am.
I'm all right?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to testify. I'm Kathy Riley. I've been
Speaking
a
to the mic, please.
Pardon?
Pull a little bit closer, Ms. Riley. There you go.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you holding this hearing. With 69 different school systems and a focus on individual schools within DCPS, it is overall a piecemeal approach that is expansive and expensive. Solutions are possible. They can come in the mix of more central guidance on how many schools the city opens, as well as from efforts to coordinate and make it easier for students to take advantage of programs in their school or even nearby at other campuses. Our goal is for advanced coursework to support students to be better prepared for post-secondary opportunities for education and work. This includes a significant financial benefit. These courses are part of our goal to provide students with a well-rounded education, a diverse and rigorous curriculum that gives these young people broad exposure to opportunities and to what is possible for them. It is an education that meets the advanced needs of higher performing students and provides a tangible path for growth for lower performing students, moving everyone forward. This necessitates equitable opportunities for all, so students can fulfill their potential both personally and as part of our larger civic society. The list of opportunities in DCPS is extensive, spanning AP, IB, early college, dual enrollment, CTE, world languages. There is some qualification. For students to take the classes, there needs to be a minimum number of students ready to enroll, the staff prepared to teach, and scheduling that will allow them to enroll. Our wealth as a city, especially over the last 10 years, has contributed to making this possible in both academic and career exposure. As we face more constrained budgets, we will need to pay attention to the impact of fewer dollars. I just highlighted 3 of the challenges to more students having better access. Access is not equitable by location and school type yet. You can see, I put in a chart in my testimony to you, the difference is what is offered in DCPS by ward and also between the DCPS and neighborhood by right schools and the selective application schools. It's a complicated story. These are a few lenses on DCPS, and this data does not include the charters or address ELL and special ed access. What you can see is that overall selective DCPS schools offer more advanced academic courses. Schools in the west and central part of the city offer more options with both career AP and IB. World language is a story in itself. There is definitely increased, but uneven access. The following table does not show the classes in early college or dual enrollment or the actual number of students enrolled, but it does give a snapshot of what is available for these courses at different school sites. The level of preparation is another issue. Some students do not apply to advanced offerings because they are not prepared to do the work, or they do not have the support. Others might not know what is available, and others may not prefer to do this. A student's vision for themselves and motivation are partly determined by what they have been exposed to before arriving at high school. This can include being a confident grade level or advanced reader who has taken the prerequisite math or having been exposed to advanced challenges by learning to play a musical instrument, been involved in robotics, traveled, had exposure through outside experiences. Preparation is also determined by having time to study. Do they have a job? Are they required to take care of siblings? Do they have the physical space to do homework? In the earlier grades, has their background knowledge grown, if not from home, from exposure at school? The third thing is the small size of many high schools is limiting. DC has 39 high schools. with more charter applications and expansions possible. For DCPS, as a system with over 13,000 students enrolled in the 18 schools that serve 9th through 12th graders, they have a better chance of funding at least a minimum number of courses at each site. Although, as you can see, there is a huge range of what is available at any one site. For the charter schools with about 8,421 schools, 8,400 students and 21 schools with many small, under 400 students, this is more difficult. It is expensive to offer a broad range of courses that meet students academically where they are and offer a selection of different subject content in a small school. As a city, the policy decision has been to expand the number of schools to try to accommodate increased individual choice, mainly through a lottery or through selective application schools, to complement the by right DCPS system. This has resulted in some ability tracking by school and has limited both what is offered equitably as a right and what can be offered with so many small schools. I followed with a number of suggestions to explore moving forward. I put out the word, but I think we can work with DCPS and the city to get more suggestions that would address these issues laid out above, with more engagement on this from the full community, past, present, and future. Thank you.
Good evening, representatives of the State Board of Education, staff, and members of the public. My name is Corey Colgan, and I am the Chief of the Office of Teaching and Learning at the District of Columbia Public Schools. During my 25-year career in education, I have been a classroom teacher, school administrator, and a central service employee since 2009. I am excited to share more detail tonight about the advanced coursework options that DCPS is proud to offer. We recognize how important advanced coursework is to challenge students academically and prepare them for post-secondary success. That is why advanced coursework is an integral part of the DCPS high school experience. All of our high schools offer some option for advanced coursework, whether that is advanced placement courses, an international baccalaureate, diploma, or dual enrollment. We want to continue to expand access to these opportunities, specifically for our students furthest from opportunity. One of the goals in the 2023 to 2028 strategic plan is to double the number of graduates enrolling in and successfully completing an internship, apprenticeship, career and technical education pathway, dual enrollment course, or earning an industry recognized credential. We strive to offer a wide variety of advanced coursework options. This includes the core subjects of math, ELA, social studies, and science, as well as computer science, social sciences, world languages, the arts, and career and technical education. DCPS is also proud to offer the Seal of Biliteracy Award, which students can automatically qualify for through a certain score on an AP or IB world language exam. One advanced coursework option is the IB Diploma Program. The program is a rigorous 2-year pre-university program for students in grades 11 and 12. To earn the internationally recognized IB diploma in conjunction with their local school diploma, students must complete 6 IB courses and examinations, as well as supplemental projects. Currently, Benjamin Banneker Academic High School and Eastern Senior High School offer an IB diploma. Further, DCPS has some elementary and middle schools that use the IB Primary Years Program and IB Middle Years Program. These are whole school instructional models to prepare students for challenging coursework in high school. Schools that offer this program are Shepherd, Thompson, and Turner at the elementary level, and Deal and Elliott Hine at the middle school level, as well as the 9th and 10th grades at Eastern. Advanced placement, or AP courses, offer college-level material to high school students, and all students enrolled in AP courses will take a culminating exam at the end of the year, which may result in earning these course credits when enrolling in a post-secondary institution. To ensure the greatest access to these classes, all AP courses are open to any student who has successfully completed the prerequisite courses. There are no other requirements for enrollment. In addition, AP courses are available at all of our high schools. We require that all comprehensive and application high schools offer at least 7 AP courses with at least 1 course in each of the 4 core subjects: math, English, social studies, and science. Currently, 11 of our 18 high schools offer more than the required 7. DCPS also pays for all students' AP testing fees to ensure there are no financial barriers to taking the exam. There are some schools that require all their students to take an AP class, which ensures that all students have access and exposure to the rigor of advanced coursework before they graduate. Columbia Heights Education Campus requires all students to take AP English Language and Composition and AP English Literature. School Without Walls students are required to take AP World History and AP English Language and Composition. At Benjamin Banneker Academic High School, all students take AP World History. DCPS has been intentional about how we support first-time AP students. We offer advanced ELA 1 and 2 at 11 schools, which are designed to prepare students for AP English courses. 5 schools also offer an AP Prep World History course, which exposes 9th grade students to the first half of the AP World History curriculum, since AP World in 10th grade is often the first AP course students take. We also had a large uptick in schools offering the AP Access courses, which are recommended by the College Board for first-time AP students. Our efforts to improve AP programming and support have yielded strong results. Each year since 2021, we have increased the number of students taking AP classes, the number of courses offered, and success on AP exams. In 2021, approximately 2,500 students took 4,600 exams with a 43% pass rate. Last school year, those numbers increased to 3,500 students taking 6,600 exams with a 52% pass rate. The pass rate has also increased for all racial subgroups and at-risk status. DCPS added 2 new AP courses last year, AP Pre-Calculus.
Ms. Colgan, I'm going to have to stop you because you're at time. I will try to give you some of my time later to finish your statement.
Thank you.
If we could move now to Ms. Coldspring.
Hello, thank you so much for inviting me here to spend some time with you. My name is Sneha Shah Coltrane, and I'm from the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, our state agency just south of you all. And I currently am the Senior Director for Advanced Learning here in our state. It is so wonderful to already hear some of the amazing things happening in DC as well as other places. And what I want to do is kind of share with you some larger concepts with a lot of details in my written testimony, so please do take a minute to look at that. But we really here in North Carolina have also been focusing on expanding excellence through, yes, AP IB courses in Cambridge, dual enrollment, but also work around auto enrollment as well, and some other initiatives that you can read about. We have had some great success in North Carolina. Just last year, over half of our graduates enrolled and passed advanced coursework, and that's not including our CTE apprenticeships or certifications or our upper level arts courses. So that is just including our dual enrollment and our other college level courses. So we are super excited about that, and I'm going to share with you some other data points as well. I was asked to kind of share how we have made some of the success that we have in our state. One is how we've synergized all of our efforts with a sustained commitment over time. So we really have spent over a decade really being laser focused on how to build partnerships, how to tie in advanced coursework with other existing policies, other existing programmings, and ensuring that every opportunity we get, we are leaning in and refining and continuing to ensure that the goal of expanding excellence, not limiting, but expanding it, is our goal in North Carolina, not just for the students' sake, but also for our community's sake. The other key piece that we have been working on is really how we develop mindsets, policies, and practices. And that's one thing I really want to make sure I share with you, are those 3 buckets. Because what we have found is that it is critical to really constantly be thinking about mindsets of expanding excellence, right? And having that conversation ongoing, being incredibly clear with our messaging and our commitment, and to address some misperceptions out there as well. among our different stakeholders and different shareholders. The other piece is policies. How do we refine but also develop new policies? And in my testimony, you'll see several program areas that we've not only worked with legislators on improving, but also our own state policies. And for you all, that would mean your district policies, right? Your district and school policies. And so really working hard to couple mindsets, policy work, and then practices. How are we sharing those strategies across with our schools, our districts, our teachers? Whether it is removing prerequisites, whether it is, hey, do we really need to have 3 books read over the summer before a child can take an AP literature class? Is that critical? And so really helping share these practices, expecting them, and ensuring that all 3 of those items, mindsets, policies, and practices, synergize to continue to move the work forward in expanding excellence. I know where you are, the structure is really different. And so in my testimony, you'll also see some ideas of how you can adapt some of what we've done to your structure, because so much of it is about how do we view students at potential, and then how are we ensuring to move forward with the work in thinking about both the mindsets, all 3, the mindsets, policies, and practices as we go. So in my testimony, you'll see information about gifted program, but also all the other legislative efforts and policies and strategies that we've been doing.
Thank you so much. We'll now move to
Thank
Maureen
you.
Stover, if she's online.
Thank you for the opportunity to testify on the importance of expanding access to rigorous course through automatic enrollment in advanced mathematics. My name is Maureen Stover, and I have the privilege of serving as the Vice President of Policy and Engagement at North Carolina Business Leaders for Education, which is commonly referred to as BEST NC, a North Carolina nonprofit organization that represents the business community in transforming public education to ensure all students are prepared for college, career, and life. Prior to my role in education policy, I served as a high school biology, chemistry, and physics teacher and was named the 2020 North Carolina Teacher of the Year and one of 4 2021 National Teacher of the Year finalists. Throughout my career, both as a teacher and in education policy leadership, I have seen firsthand the power of high expectations and access to rigorous coursework in shaping students' academic trajectories. I strongly support policies that ensure all students, regardless of background, school district, or socioeconomic status, have access to the opportunities they have earned. The success of the automatic enrollment policy in North Carolina demonstrates the profound impact this approach can have on student outcomes, college readiness, and workforce development. Recognizing that too many capable students were missing out on opportunities to engage in advanced academic pathways, North Carolina became the first state in the country to require automatic enrollment in advanced math coursework based on objective assessment criteria. Since implementing the policy in the 2018-19 school year, North Carolina has significantly expanded student access to rigorous, challenging math courses. Under this policy, any student who scored at the highest level on their end of grade or end of course math assessments was automatically placed into the next level of advanced coursework the following school year. The impact of this policy was immediate and profound. In just 1 year, the number of students placed into advanced math courses grew by more than 9,000 students, an 18% increase compared to the previous year. In January of 2025, North Carolina was recognized as one of only 5 states that saw an increase in 8th grade math performance on the National Assessment of Educational Progress, making it the highest performing state in the Southeast. I must caveat that we are now tied with Tennessee. Students who participate in advanced coursework perform better academically, develop stronger problem-solving skills, and are more likely to pursue careers in high-demand fields such as engineering, technology, and healthcare. By removing unnecessary barriers to enrollment, North Carolina has ensured that more students can take advantage of these opportunities and develop the skills needed for long-term post-secondary success. To support this policy, North Carolina implemented several key strategies. Expanding virtual learning and dual enrollment options to ensure students in rural or under-resourced schools could take advantage of coursework even if their school did not offer the course. Establishing statewide accountability measures requiring school districts to report placement data to monitor effectiveness and identify areas for improvement, and providing academic support programs including targeted tutoring, teacher training, and curriculum enhancements to help students transition successfully into advanced coursework. These efforts have not only increased the number of students enrolling in advanced math courses, but has also led to measurable improvements in academic performance statewide. While North Carolina's automatic enrollment policy has transformed access to advanced coursework, its greatest strength lies in how early it begins. High school is too late to introduce students to advanced coursework. By that point, students who have not been on an accelerated track are often too far behind to catch up, limiting their opportunities for college readiness and career advancement. Recognizing this, North Carolina became the first state to mandate automatic enrollment starting as early as 4th grade. Beginning in 4th grade, any student who scores the highest level on the state math assessment is automatically placed into advanced coursework the following school year. In middle school, students are enrolled in advanced coursework, positioning them to take Math 1, which is referred to in some states and territories as Algebra 1, in 8th grade, and setting them on a trajectory for high-level STEM achievement in high school and in post-secondary life. This early intervention is critical. Research consistently shows that students who take Math 1 before high school are significantly more likely to succeed in STEM fields, graduate from college, and have access to high-paying careers. If students are not placed in accelerated coursework in elementary and middle school, they are far less likely to take advanced math and science courses in high school. Delaying automatic enrollment until 9th grade is a missed opportunity that we will leave too many students behind.
Thank you so much. I'm going to have to kind of conclude because that's 5 minutes. I want to thank all the panelists for their testimonies. Director Butler will now call a round of member questions. Each member will have 3 minutes. A reminder to members that 3 minutes include both the time to ask the question and the panelist's response. Director Butler.
Yes, we will start with our student members. Representative Mayer.
Thank you all so much for being here. I have a question that I would like to pose to every panelist. As a student, I'm at school without walls right now. I've taken a good amount of AP courses, and in my experience in talking to teachers and other students who take these courses, standardization is one of the things that they and myself are most frustrated by in taking AP courses. It often feels like we're just learning for the test, and I know that that's something that a lot of educators have thought about, and I'm wondering if you have any thoughts about that, especially in relation to advanced coursework as a general thing, and if there are any similar cons that you think about when thinking about this. So any of you are welcome to take that.
I'd be happy to answer that question. So I have taught both AP Biology and AP Physics. And I know that it definitely can seem like many times you are preparing only for the test. But I do think that as we have more students who have opportunities to engage in those courses, it will also give the teachers more opportunity to design the way that they are delivering instruction in those AP courses in a way that's really helping our students become critical thinkers and problem solvers. There's a lot of opportunity in those AP classes to do some really exciting labs and hands-on activities that maybe there's not latitude to do in some of the other courses. And so I think it really does provide an opportunity for us to really reframe the way that we are developing curriculum and engaging students in highly...
Student journalists were being given the same freedom adults have to report on controversial issues. That ruling in 1969 prevented teachers and school administrators from imposing
courses that are now being developed by AP, by College Board for your teachers, is really trying to give them significantly more resources to be able to make their classrooms less standardized using your words. So, having readily accessible ideas and a community to be able to really design their courses, that is what we are seeing more of as those resources are being shared every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just to build on that, that's I was going to speak to some of the changes that the College Board, who, as you probably know, kind of manage the AP courses and the exams, they have been making some pretty substantial shifts. They've been piloting some things like project-based learning even in some AP courses. So I know it may not feel like it has made it to every class yet, but that is a direction that they're going that we're very excited about. And then I feel our responsibility at DCPS Central is to help make sure that teachers know about all of these resources and these shifts, and then can, teach accordingly and be a little more innovative in the way that they're teaching the courses. So it's a great question.
Thank you all. Sorry you didn't get a chance to answer.
Representative Ting?
Yep. Actually, to follow up on that, like for example, I have the AP US History course exam description right now, and for the unit where they talk, or the time when they talk about indigenous people before European contact, they give like they cite all these things like the Arizona Museum of Natural History, and they give you examples and resources for teachers for the Hohokam, the Pueblo, the Apache, Shoshone, Ute, Lenape, Sakoten, Iroquois. I don't even know how to pronounce some of these, like Aleuts, Chinook, and Tlingit. And they encourage teachers to really they give them a lot of resources. But specifically on what I wanted to ask. For Kathy, you mentioned how location, environment, whether they have a desk to study at, et cetera, it can influence how students are able to access advanced coursework. Would you also would you also believe that whether they can afford study materials and things would also play in an impact on accessibility to advanced coursework?
So let me see if I understand. If they just have a place to work, and if they have, no, I just was saying that it's a wide range of things that allows someone to embrace that challenge.
Yeah.
And that having, there's a big difference in what children bring.
Yeah.
There's a big difference in what the school can provide, but
Yeah.
what they bring also matters.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to give a range of that, and I think learning a musical instrument, lots of things can challenge you. Just like to the previous question, the AP English class does not have as many facts. Like you learn how to write, you get a lot of practice, and you get exposed to a lot of literature. It's not as factual based as some of the ones that might have been. So I think there's a range of what's possible there. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and yeah, and also for the person in North Carolina, Miss Sneha, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, you mentioned how North Carolina is investing in making sure that everyone has access to AP courses. Would you say that's a priority for North Carolina?
I believe you asked if access to advanced courses is a priority in North Carolina. Is that correct? Was
Yeah,
that the question?
regarding funding and things.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Okay, yes, it is a priority here in our state. It's not only a priority of our partners like Best MC and other partners in our state, but also our State Board of Education and our superintendent, as well as our General Assembly. And so we do have clear legislation discussing and mandating, in fact, broadening access and successful participation. And so it is on multiple levels, whether it's state legislation all the way down to school kind of policy and working, as we've embedded it into our academically or intellectually gifted programs as well. Available for all students, but it is
Thank
a
you.
priority here in North Carolina.
Thank you.
Representative Best?
Thank you. I guess this question is for everyone. I think I'm 100% in favor of increasing access to advanced courses. But at the same time, over the years, I've also seen a lot of districts push AP enrollment as a performance metrics, where the enrollment data supersedes student success. leading to like high failure rates and disengagement. Like, how can we ensure that the advanced coursework / enrollment is implemented with intentionality and providing like proper preparation and support rather than just using it as a numbers game to get to 100% enrollment?
Yeah, I think that's
I'm
a,
happy to,
oh,
I don't know who wants to start.
go ahead.
Okay. So here in North Carolina, access and success has been incredibly important. Of course, you have to understand, everybody has to understand that, okay, when you increase the access, right, at the beginning, there may not be necessarily the high success rate, but over time that will build. One, it will build because students will feel and see themselves in these rigorous experiences. Teachers will see more diverse students and more students in these, and so as a result, raise higher expectations, and will build some of the systems in place, right? Whether that's peer groups, whether that's ensuring they are study materials in libraries, whether we're making sure prerequisites. So here in North Carolina, it's that balance of mindsets, policies, and practices that has helped us not only increase access, but also outpace the nation when it comes to success. So we have not seen that large drop where a lot of places will see, to ensure the fidelity that we are lifting students, but also supporting students while we go. And that is such an important part, that we can't just say, okay, open the doors, but not give that support. And so that has been very critical here in North Carolina. Just last year, we not only had the increase, but we also had over 40% success rate in just 1 year for our Hispanic students, and our Black also outpacing the nation. But that's also with access increasing. And so really ensuring that it's done in a systematic way has really helped to make sure it's not a numbers game, that's not just about success, but really access and success.
I think I just want to make sure that as we look to expand access, that it's not just a numbers game, that we're doing it intentionally.
Point well taken.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Chang. Oh,
I don't think they understand that.
Representative Chang.
Thank you. So, I represent Ward 2, and one of the top issues for Ward 2 families that I've heard recently is the lack of total quantity of AP and IB coursework in the upper grades. And it is one of the main reasons why we have such a large attrition of Ward 2 families leaving the public system and choosing to go to private schools, right? And so for me, this is an absolutely critical conversation and question to keep them engaged in our public system. And what I hear over and over again is that families want to stay, but that they're feeling like their students aren't being challenged or prepared, right? And so the ask that they've shared with me is for schools to expand access, right, to AP, IB coursework in order for them to be competitive, right, for colleges and keep up with many of the peer systems that we have in neighboring systems, where we're finding that, you know, to be competitive, you essentially have to take over 10 APs to be in the running for a top school, right? And so one question I have for you, Ms. Colgan, is, yes, we have, it's important to think about how we have students take at least one AP class. But for students aiming for the top colleges, how do we think about expanding access to advanced coursework and the full range of advanced coursework, right, so that students who are more advanced can have access to a full range and be competitive with their peers from other districts?
Okay, thank you for the question. I'm not sure if I should say this, but go ahead and say it. As a parent who has a senior this year, I would push a tiny bit back on they must take 10 APs to be competitive for competitive colleges. I think that I don't want our students to feel that they only need to take or they have to take a certain number, a very, very high number of AP courses to be competitive, because there are so many other parts of their lives that, also are an important part of the application. So I just want to maybe push back
Absolutely.
on the narrative a little bit. But that being said, I recognize this
Doesn't
is what our
discount the
families
reality
want.
that the families are leaving, right?
And I would just say that, we are committed to growing access both to AP but also dual enrollment. There has been, I didn't get to read that part of my testimony out loud, but it is in my testimony about how we have really been able to increase dual enrollment opportunities as well. And so students can actually earn actual college credits, not just the AP that could transfer. So that's another growing opportunity in our schools. And I would just really, those opportunities are available both within the school, but also now there's a growing number of ways.
So sorry.
Oh, are we out of time? I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Representative Colson.
Thank you, everyone, for your testimony. My question is directed at Ms. Colgan as well. Thank you so much for being here. I represent Ward 4, which I believe has the largest immigrant population here in the city. And as we look to expand offerings, I'm looking at some of the other things that we already have on our plate in terms of we have a concern or a growth area in terms of truancy, and then we also have the new things that are going on in the landscape here in the city. What can we do, because now we're less than 60 days for the end of the school year, as we move planning ahead for the next school year and implementation, what can be done to support those students who may not be physically coming to school? Are these AP courses offered virtually or some other way? What thought has gone into that, and how can we get ahead of that curve?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I do not believe at the moment that we have AP courses available virtually. It is something we've discussed in the past, and it has usually come up in sort of the conversation of there's a specialized course that a student at one high school might want to take, but it's not offered at their school. And so is there a way we could cross-register students from a number of different schools? So I will take your question back as something that we can be thinking about and be really considering for the use case that you described. In terms of some of our students that may need additional support for another reason. So thank you for that question.
So in North Carolina, the virtual school and other virtual options has really been successful, especially in some of our smaller schools and smaller districts that haven't been able to fund an AP teacher or fill an AP class. And so in a lot of smaller districts, they may pair up with another district or with our state virtual school, which there are other virtual schools that do offer that option as well. But I do think and this is also with our auto enrollment, right? How do we think out of the box to really, whether it's an enrichment opportunity like a chess club, or whether it's an AP class, or whether it's dual enrollment. We even have dual enrollment classes being offered virtually, because in some of our rural areas and mountain areas, the college is not close enough. So really, what we learned throughout COVID is, because we were urgent, we had to move to some of that ways, but then, hey, what from this can we learn to continue doing that? And I think that's something to really think about, especially depending on the wards, right, in your district.
Thank you, ma'am.
To learning about DC.
Thank you. Oh. Representative Goulet.
Hi, I want to thank everyone for coming out, testifying in this, and thank Representative Chang for being the one to inspire the panel today. So I think it's a really important topic, certainly something that the parents in my ward mention a lot. Can I just go through and ask about what the process would be? If there's parents who are interested in bringing a new course to a school, and they just, they think they have a critical mass of students that are interested, what is the process they would go through to get that moving with DCPS?
Yes, thanks for that question. So there's definitely not a ceiling that we put on AP courses. We set a floor, as I described. And so, but if schools want to offer more, are able to offer more, we definitely support them in that. So I think that the best thing for families to do, or even students, so students are, sometimes advocating for themselves within the school about a course they really want, is really to talk to the school leadership and to do it early enough, if they want to see it, say, in the next school year, to see if the school leadership team can find a way to make that work within the budget and the scheduling. So usually school leaders are working on their budgets in late winter, and so if they, it'll be a little bit of a long game, but planning for the year in advance, it would be important to really work with the school leadership team. And it really usually comes down to just scheduling constraints. Of course, DC has a lot of graduation requirements as well. We got to make sure that everything can fit for the schedule, and that we have, that the school has the teachers to teach the courses as well.
So they would reach out to the principal, preferably, or the designee for
Yes.
for that area to discuss bringing it on board. And
Absolutely.
the timeline you said would just be early enough to make sure that the funding is lined up, the teachers are there. Is there an issue usually with finding specific teachers to teach the courses, or is it, is there ever an issue of resources? Because the city does pay for the coursework. Is that ever a barrier for schools to, or not the coursework, I'm sorry, the actual exams? Is that ever a
Right.
barrier for getting approval or not?
Well, I think it's only just a part of the mix in terms of all the different courses you're going to offer. If you're going to all of a sudden increase the number of courses you're offering from one year to the next, you're going to need teachers to teach all of those sections, and so it may mean additional staff are required. So that's how it could affect budget from the school's perspective. I don't think we have ever run into any issue centrally in terms of paying for the exams. And then you asked about getting a teacher. I would say only a very, I'm not, maybe like a world language at an AP level might be a challenge sometimes to find the teacher with the background necessary to teach that, or a few other specialized courses. But it's not something I've heard much about.
But the funds flow
Thank
centrally
you.
then for the
Representative-
exams, right? You said centrally? Okay, great, thank you.
Representative Henderson.
Thank you all for your testimony. I could see one possibility being to give students access to advanced coursework by letting them go to another school for a particular course. If that were to happen, I'll ask you, Ms. Riley, would there be equity concerns related to that? Historically, when we've had students travel to opportunity, that burden has been borne disproportionately. Could you speak to any concerns you might have around that possibility?
Yeah, I think it's one solution. There was an example a few years ago where a deal teacher taught algebra at Brightwood when they had 8th grade, and they did it virtually. So those students at Brightwood were able to get algebra from a deal teacher without leaving, and they had access to both. So I think also we have something called wages as earned, or part-time teachers, that I think we should explore more, that somebody could come in and teach one course and you could get it started at a school. I think this year Phelps and DCPS are going to do a partnership where students, like with the ATC, can take some of those CTE courses. So I think there's a lot of opportunities before you jump to them jumping to another school to take one course. I know that happened to a student at Roosevelt who wanted to take calculus this past year, and the school was able to pull together that he could in fact fit into the calculus course. So that I think it's one option, but there are others, so that the schools with fewer courses, those students get the same opportunities. And I hope we keep pushing that. Yeah, and does that answer?
Yes, thank you. And Ms. Colgan, this might be totally unfair, but I'm just learning about the auto enrollment. What would you think of how that might be implemented at DC, or is it even possible or just your initial thoughts?
Yeah,
on this?
I was obviously listening very, closely and curious about that. I would like to look at our data and see, how many of our students who score at the top end are not already taking an advanced course. However, I will say we are already, as you may be familiar with our priority and focus on math and our new strategic plan, there's a lot of great work that we're doing there to increase the number of students who will be taking Algebra 1 in 8th grade. That's a major goal of our plan. And so we are already shifting some of our policies around how students are enrolled in this 6th grade accelerated math course starting next school year. And so we will see an increase in the number of students. So it's a similar concept to the automatic enrollment. We're really opening up access to that course and ensuring that many, many more students are taking that 6th grade accelerated course, which will then result in them being on the pathway for 8th grade
Thank you,
algebra.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Representative Johnson Law.
Thank you all so much for your testimony. I have the honor to represent Ward 8, so my questions are going to be centered around special education access and equitable access. My first question is to you, Ms. Riley. Hey, Kathy. I know, I love me some Kathy. I do, Kathy's awesome. So in this, not the slide, but the document that you gave us, the advanced offerings for 31925 roundtable, was that roundtable like with DCPS? Was that with DC Council? Like, where did this information actually come from?
What, you mean all the document, I got the information about which courses are there from?
Yes, ma'am. It's like this Excel sheet. Like, I clicked on the link and it's like an Excel sheet, and then it says 31925 roundtable, and I was just trying to figure out is the roundtable.
No, that's this.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was thinking
That's
that.
all right.
Did you
I
talk
shouldn't
about
have said roundtable. That's
It's
this.
okay. I was thinking, did you all
No,
also
this
discuss
is.
this with DC Council?
It's
Okay.
this.
I'm sorry. This is this. Thank you. And I want to talk to Ms. Colgan about centering equity. In Ward 8, we have sometimes like an issue with access, making sure families get the information. Also, we have a lot of special education students who are also gifted, but they are labeled as a behavior issue. And sometimes a lot of our students are also misdiagnosed. That's a whole nother issue with diagnoses, but sometimes our children, who are gifted do have, special education needs. So how are you all centering equity for Ward 8 students and for special education students?
I really appreciate the question. It's something that we are also very concerned about, the making sure that all students and all different types of learners have access to advanced learning. So, one way that we do, like kind of the first step that we did to that was to put a floor in place to ensure that the advanced courses are offered at every school. I think we need to do more work explicitly, school by school, to examine the percentage of students with disabilities that are actually taking those courses and set some goals to increase that number. So that's something that we've been looking at as we've been looking at the demographic data centrally for AP, for instance. It's an area that we've noticed we need to make some improvement in. So, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And if you guys, as you all do that work, I would love to be included to see if I could be a thought partner in that. Sure. And I think my time is up. Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you.
We cannot see the clock. Thank you. Representative Thompson.
Thank you for your testimony. I have a couple questions. So the first one, Ms. Colgan, is about the slides you provided us. On one of the slides, the last slide, there's a ed equity. It's labeled ed equity. Could you briefly say what goes into ed equity? Because it's the only one that's not readily self-explanatory.
Yes, I'm so glad you asked me that because I didn't get to it in my testimony and I did want to speak to it. So this is a relatively new partnership that we have. Ed Equity is a national organization that pairs colleges and universities with high schools. And just very briefly, the way that it works is students will be scheduled into a course, a college level course in their high school schedule, they'll report to a classroom at their high school. They'll have a teacher there who acts as sort of a support for all of the students, but the course is actually taught zoomed in by a professor from, like, I saw this at Woodson, I think it was
So it's
Morehouse.
So it's like a dual enrollment course?
It's a dual enrollment course, but the professors are zooming in into the classrooms. And the reason that I think it has so much potential to increase access is that, unlike some of our other dual enrollment programs, it is completely built into the school schedule, the student schedule. So they don't have to leave and go somewhere else. They just report to that class like they would any other class, but then they're having that college professor there. And it's,
that's helpful. It makes
yeah.
sense. My second question. So as I think about the testimonies from a DC perspective, it seems like there's kind of two approaches. One is about bringing more opportunities into the school, so like the equity, the ATC, the, you know, wherever you are. The other, which hasn't been talked as much about, is about could be strengthening the feeder pattern. So like I heard you talk about Woodson, for example, which does have a STEM program and, you know, has some specialized programming, but the feeder doesn't necessarily set you up for that in the same way. And I heard a couple other schools mentioned in the testimony. Could you speak a little bit to how DCPS is thinking about strengthening feeder patterns as a way to increase academic access?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. So one, I think with math in particular, we're being really intentional, as I mentioned, around our math initiative and really looking at the courses, the courses that students are taking as they come into 6th grade and how that sets them up for 8th grade algebra, which then translates to them being able to take an AP or two in math in high school. And so, but we know that we can't start just in middle school, and that requires us to then go down to the feeder, especially 3rd through 5th grade. And so I think we are having those conversations about what does it need to look like.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. We're out of time.
Vice President Williams.
Yes, thank you all for your testimony. And I think this is not directed at anyone. I think this is an area that we as a city can make a lot of progress on and do better at if, you know, we're able to implement the right things. I have a variety of questions. First, Ms. Stover, I'm interested in the accelerated math program that North Carolina is looking at, and I'm hearing you loud and clear that it needs to start before high school. I'm curious at the elementary school level and the middle school level, what does advanced course work look like? And more specifically, when you're screening for that at the end of the school year, are the assessments that you use state level assessments or school level assessments?
Yeah, thanks so much for the question. The assessments that we are using are state level end of course and end of grade exams. We do a 1 through 5 scale on those, so students who score a 5 will automatically be enrolled into advanced coursework. In elementary school, as my colleague mentioned, sometimes that could look like some type of enrichment, like a chess club or something that helps students with critical thinking and math thinking. As they move into middle and high school,
Thank you.
We do have students. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, if you, I have a couple other questions. I'm sorry for cutting you off. Ms. Riley, you also talked about like advanced opportunities in the arts, and outside of just like I'm not downplaying playing an instrument. I think that's critical, but outside of just Ellington as our arts high school, what are the other high leverage things that you think we could do to expand programming for students to access a richer experience with the arts?
I think when you're looking at the graduation requirements, when you're looking at we just have 0.5 of art and music, and sometimes schools that are smaller don't have the range. They might not even have a band where kids learn the musical instruments. I think you could look at what the DC Youth Orchestra has done. You should look at Ellington, for Representative Chang and his district. Like, how can we infuse some of what we invest in Ellington? It could be shared a little bit. Like, every student should have the opportunity to learn a musical instrument and be exposed to theater. And I think that should be right up there with AP and IB. So I would like to work further with you on that, and I think it's possible. We used to have a band, a marching band and an orchestra in every high school. And so we can get back there.
I appreciate that, and I think that that really aligns with your consortium idea, which I also think is very compelling to be able to share resources, which a lot of school districts, sometimes suburban, sometimes urban, will do that as a way of kids living in a similar community who would otherwise potentially go to different schools, being able to access a broader type of programming at a particular place, and sharing resources. Ms. Colgan, I had a couple questions for you about how we're
Thank
prioritizing.
you, Vice President Williams.
Sorry.
President Patterson.
Thank you so much. My question is going to be for Ms. Colgan, and first I want to thank you for being here. You're getting a lot of questions because you are here. I was happy to hear that you guys have an elementary and middle school IB primary years program. That made me happy. Maybe even happier that one of them are in my neighborhood, Turner, along with Shepherd and Thompson, I believe. But then when I get to the middle school, we have Deal and Elliott Hines, correct? Yes. I kind of want you to help me understand the thought process in that, because it seems like, okay, my kids get to start at Turner, but they don't get to feed it to a middle school that would have that same program that would encourage them to go further. So can you give me some background on how you guys pick those schools and your thought process of going forward for that? Because for me, I believe that whatever elementary school that you have should feed into a middle school that is close. So ours is Johnson. You know, I would think that there would be a school that they could immediately go to, middle school, to encourage them to go on. So you can give me the thought process.
Yes, that is a very understandable question. I will say, truthfully, I think it is sort of a vestige of previous initiatives from many years ago, when there was a little more, like, there was a period of time when school leaders had more autonomy to kind of create a program that they wanted or select a program that they wanted, and so it wasn't actually intentionally necessarily built that way. And so I guess that's the best way to say that, but I do understand and hear what you're saying. It feels a little misaligned, perhaps. And so, again, I mean, that's something I think if the community wanted to really advocate for, it's something we would certainly take under consideration. That said, I would also say that what the students learn in a primary years program or middle years program is valuable no matter what, and will still, they'll take that with them, and I don't feel that they, can't be as successful, or they'll lose a ton by, going on to a middle school that may have a different focus or not that same focus. I mean, I don't think it's causing any harm, but I understand that it looks a little misaligned in the feeder pattern there.
And I appreciate your answer. I would have a follow-up question, but my time is limited, so I'm not going to try to ask you a question that you won't have time to answer. So with that being said, I want to thank each of the panelists for your testimony. I know the questions had a lot more parts to them than could be answered in 3 minutes, but I do definitely appreciate your testimony. So I can excuse you at this particular time. I'm now going to turn to our acting state superintendent, Dr. Mitchell, to come up and get settled. Take your time, get settled in. And first, I'm going to congratulate her as well, as she has gone from interim to acting. So now we will hear from you.
What a rich and wonderful discussion. I apologize that I was not able to hear the full panel discussion, but the part that I heard was fantastic. And so I thank the board for arranging that. I'm always open and wanting to learn more. Sure. Can you hear me now?
So I think they want me to drop the mic. This mic is not working.
All right. I just thanked the board for such a rich discussion, and I thank the panelists as well. And I apologize for being late once again. I was at a meeting at the Wilson Building and got here as soon as I could. Very excited to share with you this evening. So I consider it a real honor to address this board and the public as the acting state superintendent of education. I appreciate the trust that Mayor Bowser has placed in me with this appointment, and I look very forward to the confirmation process. As a native Washingtonian, I am proud to continue serving the students and families of the District of Columbia as I have in the interim position for the last 9 months. I want to talk to you a little bit about the federal budget situation. I think it's important to acknowledge the unique and challenging financial circumstances facing our city. Last Tuesday, the U.S. House of Representatives passed H.R. 1968, continuing appropriations through the end of the federal fiscal year, without including a longstanding provision protecting D.C.'s Local Budget Act appropriations. As a result, this bill reverses Congress's prior approval of our locally funded fiscal year 25 spending levels and requires the district to spend at fiscal year 24 budget levels. This drastic funding change would have devastating impacts on the district, forcing D.C. to cut almost $1.1 billion from our local budget halfway through the fiscal year. As this measure became known, our elected officials and representatives together made our voices heard. I am so grateful to the parents and students who joined our elected officials in advocating for D.C. by going to Congress and raising concerns about this potentially devastating mistake. I am grateful to Mayor Bowser and to her federal affairs team for working tirelessly to remedy this urgent problem. As a result of the efforts of the mayor, the council, many of you here, and many of district residents who made phone calls and walked the halls of Congress, the District of Columbia Local Funds Act of 2025 unanimously passed the Senate on Friday. I look forward to the House quickly passing this legislation and the President signing it into law, and I encourage everyone to stay tuned. Next, I want to talk a little bit about the U.S. Department of Education. In addition to the federal budget, I want to acknowledge that the cuts that have been made to the U.S. Department of Education could also be devastating. At this point in time, we are still identifying the extent of the impact of last week's reduction in force on the district and on our agency. As of Friday, the department's acting Assistant Secretary of Elementary and Secondary Education sent state education agencies a letter stating, and I quote, "Formula funding for discretionary grant programs were not impacted by the reduction in force. These funds will continue to flow normally and program functions will not be disrupted." Because the district receives millions of dollars in federal funding, this is very important to our education system, and I will continue to update you and this board as the situation evolves. And now I'd like to talk about agency updates. In these challenging times, our mandate becomes even more resolute. OSSE remains deeply committed to advancing quality educational opportunities for the nearly 100,000 students in district LEAs and all our learners from birth through adulthood. To this end, I'd like to provide the board an update on our continuing work. Since we last met, OSSE published our annual discipline report. We submitted 292 pages for our fiscal year 24 performance oversight response to the council, and I testified before the council at OSSE's fiscal year 24 performance oversight hearing. I was very proud to explain our agency's many accomplishments and to highlight the positive momentum of our education system, including that public school enrollment is increasing, teacher retention continues to climb, chronic absenteeism improved more than 18% over the past 2 years, DC ranked first in the nation in both math and reading recovery from 2022 to 2024. Career and technical education opportunities and enrollment are growing. In addition, we, with the support of the State Board, published DC's inaugural Financial Literacy and Social Emotional Learning Standard. We created a district-wide math task force, which includes Representative Beth. And with feedback from the board and the public, we incorporated, we published DC's first district-wide graduate profile, which we're using to inform our vision for reimagining graduation requirements. In addition to that, with the board's guidance and approval, we published an updated DC school report card, which expands access to important school performance data. And now I'd like to talk to you a little bit about advanced coursework, given the panel that happened today. I want to highlight 3 key initiatives that OSSE spearheads that are related to this topic. First, we launched the DC-wide course data collection effort last year. This data collection effort enables us to better understand the distribution of rigorous coursework in our system. For example, we now know that 28 district high schools offer AP English Language and Composition this year, while 14 offer AP Biology. The course collection effort provides similar insights on IB courses, CTE courses, dual enrollment courses, world language courses, and other courses that make for a rich high school experience. The next step in this effort is to understand which students are accessing this coursework. We've begun that data collection this school year. We look forward to examining and sharing these data so that policymakers, educators, and parents can use it to inform their decision-making. Second, as I mentioned last month, OSSE administers the DC Dual Enrollment Consortium program. Dual enrollment, as we've discussed, reduces costs by enabling students to earn college credits while still in high school. Last year, DC students took more than 600 college courses worth more than $600,000 in tuition at 13 colleges and universities in our consortium program. And then finally, OSSE recently created and administered an advanced technical center in Ward 5. This center provides dual enrollment CTE programming to nearly 300 students from 22 public and public charter schools in the high demand fields of cybersecurity and nursing, through partnerships with UDC and Trinity Washington University. Our students have earned more than 3,500 college credits worth $2.5 million in tuition in the ATC's first 2.5 years. And this success has enabled OSSE to secure additional funding to launch a new ATC in Ward 8 next school year. I will now conclude my remarks by talking a little bit about the local budget. I know that the local budget is top of mind for many stakeholders in this room and across the district. We are currently formulating our fiscal year 26 budget, which is scheduled to be finalized and announced by Mayor Bowser in 2 weeks' time. Recently revised revenue estimates from DC's Chief Financial Officer showed a $1 billion drop in revenues across our 4-year fiscal financial plan. The drop in revenues is driven by the significant federal job losses and the continued impacts of remote work on the commercial office market. DC is preparing to make significant reductions across its budget to ensure that we maintain a balanced 4-year budget and financial plan. This will be painful for everyone, including OSSE, but I am heartened by the fact that Mayor Bowser has time and time again made education one of her top budget priorities. The local funding for schools has doubled over the past 10 years, from $1.4 billion to $2.8 billion, with the unified per student funding formula foundation level increasing nearly 60%. As a result, we have the lowest student to staff ratio in the country and among the best paid teachers in the country. Rightfully so, as teachers are foundational to academic achievement and student success. I am grateful that Mayor Bowser has announced her intention to once again increase per pupil funding for public schools despite the challenging fiscal climate. Thank you for your time and attention, and we look forward to continuing our relationship with the State Board.
We definitely always appreciate you joining us, Dr. Mitchell. Thank you, Ozzy, for your continued work together. We look forward to always working and collaborating together. And I would like to say I wish you a smooth confirmation going forward. So thank you so much. The board will now take a recess for a few minutes. I'm going to look at the time. It's going to be about 5 minutes. So I would like to see everyone back at 6:53, if possible. Thank you very much.
If I make ice cream, for me, it's like double chocolate, like a chocolate chip chocolate. I mean, my philosophy is make it as unhealthy and delicious as possible, and then you just eat less of it. Instead of healthy, I make it. It's like just a ton of sugar. I was with you until you were like, eat less. You can eat as much as you want. I feel like if you're gonna do it, just do it. It's like great. It's like egg yolk, sugar. It's like a proper. I'm here for it. All right. If you're gonna do it, just do it. You won't get a complaint from me. I'll make it. I got it. It's like when people have birthdays, they usually make them. So I got time. I'll make it. Devon's is today, and Simon's is coming up. I'll make it. I like it. It was a nice day today. I know, it was nice. It is the warmest day we've had so far this calendar year. It's like a hammock kind of. Are you a hammock kind of person? I have trouble getting into hammocks. Yeah, that's I would like to be a hammock person, but I can't get into hammocks. Isn't a hammock kind of like rock crazy? Yeah. You should not be able to make it right now. Oh, we gotta. Good to see you. I'm gonna grab some water.
Start counting us back in. Everyone will start counting us in a second. Let me get back to my page. If we could all come back to the dais, gavel us back in. We hear testimony from public witnesses at every public meeting, and your comments become part of our official record. If you would like to speak at a future public meeting, which includes virtual options, please sign up on our website at sboe.dc.gov or contact our staff by email at sboe@dc.gov or by phone at 202-741-0888. Sign-up closes 48 hours before the public meeting. Tonight, we have 16 public witnesses who have signed up to share this evening. As a reminder, as we saw before with our panel, all public witnesses must share a copy of their testimony with our staff, and we ask that you add it to our public record so we can add it to our public record. We will hear from those in attendance in a panel format. Each witness will have up to 3 minutes, is what I was about to say earlier. 3 minutes. We hate to cut people off, but it is 3 minutes, okay? So we try to be nice and when it goes long, but 3 minutes, provide comment. If you are with us in person, please note that you must use one of the microphones at the table, which are already on. After each panel concludes, we will pause for questions from State Board members. If members have questions for public witnesses, they will have, again, 3 minutes. The 3 minutes includes the question and the answer from the panelists. Director Butler will call the public witnesses in groups and announce the question round. She will also assist with timing to ensure all witnesses and members stay within their allotted time. Director Butler, will you please call the first round of witnesses?
Yes, thank you. My mic is working now. Thank you so much, Dale. We're going to start with Riley Souther. Riley. Naima Comate, online. Aisha Celia. Alexander Ting.
For point of clarification, I think you need to allow them to talk on the Zoom thing to say present.
Well,
Okay.
the staff is
Okay.
notifying me. Alexander Ting. Nicholas. Rachel McNeach. Elizabeth Weiss. Chloe Asselin. I'm just double checking. Naima, virtual online. Okay. Laura Fuchs. All right, we'll stop there. We're going to start with Naima first.
Good evening. My name is Naima Kanate and I'm a freshman at Jackson Reed High School. I reside in Ward 4 and I proudly serve as a member of the DC Girls Coalition Youth Advisory Board. Today I'm here to speak on behalf of the youth in our community, particularly emphasizing the urgent need for stronger social and emotional support systems in schools and local spaces.
Naima, I can't hear you. Oh.
Right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Naima Kanate and I'm a freshman at Jackson Reed High School. Residing in Ward 4, and I proudly serve as a member of the DC Girls Coalition Youth Advisory Board. Today I'm here to speak on behalf of the youth in our community, particularly emphasizing the urgent need for stronger social and emotional support systems in our schools and local spaces. As a young person in Washington, D.C., I've witnessed firsthand challenges many people, such as my peers, face. Many youth struggle with overwhelming pressures, whether academic, personal, or family-related. These can have profound impact on their mental health and emotional well-being. For some, these struggles can become too much to bear and lead them to unhealthy coping mechanisms such as substance abuse, and it often leads to a cycle of turmoil and pain. It's clear to me that while we cannot immediately erase the issue that young people face, we have the power and responsibility to provide spaces for them to heal and grow. Social and emotional programs play an essential role in this process. These programs give youth a safe space where they can process their emotions, share experiences, and learn healthy ways to cope. I believe that we can make a real difference by integrating these programs into schools and recreation centers. places where youth naturally gather. By doing this, we can ensure that our youth are not only supported academically, but emotionally, helping them to overcome struggles they face and build resilience for the future. Through initiatives like these, we can foster a sense of belonging and care within our communities where young people, youth, feel valued and understood. A system like this will offer them the tools and support they need to confront the challenges in their lives, empowering them to create a brighter future for themselves and their community. In closing, I urge those in power to invest in these programs, as they are a key way to creating a more compassionate and supportive environment for the youth of DC. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Aisha Celia? Just double check. Alexander Ting?
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Alexander Ting, and I attend Basis DC, a DC public charter school. I would like to highlight the benefits of SR 25-5, which provides high-quality calculators to students in advanced math courses. In my school, I've noticed that every time that there's an assignment in math, students leave the room to get their calculator or just don't have one. This is problematic for multiple reasons. Class is slowed down, performance is skewed, and students aren't giving their best effort. To make up for this, schools such as my own often have spare calculators available, but these are slow, broken, or not advanced, able to only do basic functions such as multiplication or trigonometry. Kids need more than that. Entering advanced AP classes introduces a world of graphs and a steep learning curve, which already discourages many students. I am currently in AP Calculus AB, and everyone in my class knows that not having a graphing calculator means essentially failing the class. I don't know what I would do without having a calculator directly used on half of the official exam. Along with its necessity, the power of advanced calculators such as the TI-84 or Casio FX allow students to visualize these new concepts. Visualization through advanced calculators has immense benefits. One study concluded that people retain just 10 to 20% of written or spoken information versus almost 65% of visual information. When taking a math class typically reserved for college students, calculators such as these are essential. With such apparent benefits, you may be wondering why students shouldn't just be required to buy one themselves. The issue is that graphing calculators are expensive, costing around $50 to $100. Many students cannot afford this or believe that it's not worth buying. Therefore, if DC funds better calculators, students will build good habits in math and be capable of taking more advanced courses without a technological barrier. The benefits won't be seen just in math class, but also in courses like physics and chemistry, where students can also use calculators. And while there are online alternatives for a physical calculator, many students do not have consistent or allowed access to the technology as they would with a physical calculator. Some may also argue that students will misuse or break these expensive calculators, but I believe that high schoolers will treat this technology with respect, knowing that it was given to them for free. Therefore, I believe that it's time to invest in DC students and show them that anyone can do math. I deeply support this resolution and hope you will too. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Nicholas?
Hello, I am Nicholas Pemisler, a junior at Basis DC Public Charter School and a member of the Student Advisory Committee, and I am a student athlete. I'm here today because I'm working with Student Representative Ryan Ting in the Public Charter School Athletic Association to push for a resolution calling for public funding for the Public Charter School Athletic Association. While that's not on the docket today and it's still improving, I want to share my experiences as an athlete to illustrate why this is so critical. Running cross country and track has transformed my life, significantly improving my mental and physical health as well as my academic performance. Yet at my school, athletes face a stark reality. We pay $500 per season to cover PCSAA dues. These dues intended to pay for the bare necessities of organizing sporting events, at my school become a financial burden that goes from the PCSA charging the schools to charging the schools charging the students. Last year, many of my teammates were forced to drop out of the sports teams due to these fees. We also lack an indoor track season as runners due to the PCSA not having the money or being able to organize it. For years, I've seen students leave our charter school for DCPS and private schools, despite these students saying that they prefer the BASIS DC curriculum and culture. The deciding factor in their decisions are superior sporting opportunities. These students seek a complete school experience, and athletics are essential to that. I deeply respect the dedication of the PCSAA. I've worked closely with Rachel McNinch to my left, who is the president of the PCSAA and also my track and cross country coach. I've witnessed her firsthand tireless efforts. However, running this growing organization on volunteer power while fulfilling her demanding role at BASIS and as a coach is simply too much for anyone. Today, I urge you all to uphold DC's commitment to equitable education inside and outside of the classroom. Public funding for the PCSA isn't just about leveling the playing field. It's about investing in our students' holistic development and ensuring dedicated volunteers like President McNinch receive the compensation they deserve. I think we need to empower all DC students, regardless if they go to a DCPS school or a charter school, to succeed athletically regardless of their school type. Therefore, I ask all of the representatives to support the efforts to call for the DC government to give public funding to the Public Charter School Athletic Association. Additionally, I would like to comment on the resolution supporting technological equity in math. I'm in AP Calculus, and one of my dear friends, Jason Parker, has borrowed a calculator from our teacher because he doesn't have a calculator. He's one of the most gifted math students I know and is looking for a career in actuarial science. So it's very beneficial for him.
Thank you. Rachel McNeach.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having me here. As Nick mentioned, I am the president of the Public Charter School Athletic Association, and I am also speaking for the call for funding to the Public Charter School Athletic Association resolution, while it's not yet on the docket. I serve many roles in DC athletics. My paid position is as an athletic director at BASIS DC Public Charter School, where I'm also the track and cross country coach for 5th through 12th graders. I also, in the summertime, work as a coach and a site coordinator for Kids Elite Sports Camps, many of which I know your students attend. But my primary role and why I'm here today is a fully volunteer role. I am the president elected of the Public Charter School Athletic Association. I'm elected by my other athletic director peers. I've served in this role now for 4 years, and this is solely as a volunteer. I don't get paid a dime, and I don't need to get paid a dime because my heart has always been with providing equitable opportunities for our charter school athletes in comparison to the regular DC public school athletes and our private school athletes. However, we do this without any funding at all from the DC government. We collect dues from each school that plays a sport. Typically, it's $500 per sport. For track, which is more expensive, it's $650 per sport. So our individual schools are paying into the Public Charter School Athletic Association for us to be able to put on track meets, championships for soccer, all of the competitions that the DCIAA or the private schools do. However, when we do this, it's me and 4 other elected board members putting on all of these efforts as volunteers. I go out and I spend an entire day setting the cross-country course. I spend 12 hours putting on a track meet, and that is just me volunteering on top of my full-time paid position. I'm happy to do this, but it has gone to a point where this is not equitable for our charter school athletes. I oversee 62 charter schools. That is well more than the DCIAA, who has a full-time paid president, in addition to what I believe is 9 other additional athletic directors helping them. Myself and my fellow board members don't get paid anything, but we do this out of the goodness of our heart, but we also don't have the funding to even put on these events to the extent that they do. So while we are putting on these events, we don't have the medals, the banners, the awards that the other schools have. We also don't have your yearly award banquets that honor coaches. And while we do this behind the scenes, I think many people don't know that this is what's actually happening, because we're still putting on championship teams who are competing at the DC State Athletic Association championship level. We're bringing home championships still, but with absolutely no resources, and this has to change. I look forward to sharing more information about this in the future when this does come up for resolution. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Elizabeth Weiss, virtual.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Weiss, and I am a Ward 5 DCPS parent and educator, and I'm here today because DCPS has failed to provide the leadership and assurance that immigrant and transgender students need in this moment. Right now in this city, a DCPS family was forced to withdraw their children after the father was detained and deported. The children, both U.S. citizens, had to leave their school, their friends, and their home to move to a country they had never visited, to live with a parent they barely knew. Since the inauguration, DCPS has issued no statement to reassure immigrant families that they are safe and supported in their schools. A DCPS family is pulling their transgender child out of public school because they do not believe the mayor or chancellor will protect them when federal pressure comes down. They are lucky. They have the resources to escape. Most families don't. Right now, educators are left without guidance. They don't know if they're allowed to hold Know Your Rights trainings. They don't know what to say when asked about a student's immigration status. They don't know if defending their students will cost them their jobs. What must change today? DCPS must publicly affirm its support for immigrant and transgender students. A simple letter, an open statement of compassion and commitment could ease the fear in so many homes tonight. Why hasn't it been written? DCPS must be transparent about the ICE response policy. Right now, the Chancellor has only shared in hearings when pressed that DCPS's approach to ICE is to allow agents in if they have a warrant. This has not been communicated as official policy to teachers, families, or school staff, leaving them uncertain and unprepared. Principals have ostensibly received guidance, but there has been no system-wide communication ensuring that families understand their rights or that educators know what steps they can and cannot take to protect their students. DCPS must provide clear guidance and training to educators. Teachers should know that if asked about a student's immigration status, they must say, "We do not collect that information." Educators must be explicitly told that Know Your Rights trainings are allowed and encouraged. Right now, there's no official guidance on whether they can even provide basic legal resources to students and families. The time to act is now. DCPS leadership cannot continue operating in secrecy when students' lives and futures are at stake. Without action, immigrant and transgender students will continue to live in fear, and families will continue to pull their children from our schools. DCPS must stop waiting to be forced into action. Leadership must decide, will we stand up for our students, or will we wait until another family disappears before we care? Protect trans students, protect immigrant students, protect DC. Thank you.
Thank you. Chloe Azalin. Chloe, is she online? Laura Fuchs.
All right. Sorry, is it working?
You can try the other one.
Okay, thank you. So I'm back again to testify on the same subject that Elizabeth just testified on, which is the problematic approach that DCPS has decided to take underneath the mayor, under mayoral control, of basically acquiescing to everything a Republican says before they even say it. And so my concern is that if Republicans decide, at some point they will in the next 4 years, that they want certain books to come off our shelves, if I were to look at the mayor right now, what would happen is my books would be coming off the shelves. And I've got a lot of them in my classroom that they'd be coming after. I teach Howard Zinn like it's the text. And that'd be one of the first ones to go. So how can that be the approach? We cannot allow the current administration to pressure us into doing educational malfeasance against our students. And that is how teachers are feeling right now when everything is silent, when we haven't even been attacked yet. When you can't even make a statement, like Elizabeth said, to just affirm that we already have policies and we will be standing by them. It's not rocket science. It's not asking for another painted sign on a street that will get torn up when asked. It is just asking that we stand by the principles we claim to have. We just did a social studies curriculum. You can bet when they start looking at that thing, and they will eventually start looking at it, that they're going to have something to say about it. What is our district going to do when that pressure comes? That is something that needs to be communicated clearly, at least behind closed doors, so that those of us who work for the district know what to expect. Am I expected to start teaching like I live in Florida? I certainly hope not. I teach in Washington, D.C., to students who deserve to know the truth. Now, I plan to do it. I don't care what anyone tells me to do. I'm going to teach the truth to my students. That is my job, and I've been doing it for 18 years. But I can afford to take that risk. I can afford to lose my job over something like this. Not everybody can. So we have to have a plan, and it just seems like we don't have one. Our plan right now is to hope that if we stand out of the way, if we just do what's asked, if we close yet another homeless encampment, that maybe, just maybe, they'll leave us alone. They won't. They're already not leaving us alone, and it's been a few months. So I guess my question is for the State Board of Education, can you all make a statement that we just stand by our students? We stand by the policies that already exist. We stand by the standards that you have created. We stand by the truth, and that we're not going to back down from that, and that we support our families, students, and educators in their fight to keep all of this. We need to have a spine. All of us do. It's not easy. It's frustrating when the mayor won't do it herself, but somebody has to stand up and say enough is enough. We stand by what we've done, and we're going to continue doing it in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we will go to a round of questions from members. We will start with our student members. Representative Mayer.
Thank you all so much for coming, and especially thank you to the students. It's amazing to see you here. I want to start with Naima. I agree with everything you said. I think that social emotional support is one of the most important things that a school and a community has to offer, and I'm curious as to what your thoughts are about how that can specifically look in schools based on your experience personally and also with your organization.
A lot of the students at the school I currently attend have kind of dabble in like drugs and like things concerning that, and I think that's because of the problems they might be going through at home or because of academic stress. And I think that ways that we can kind of combat this issue and steer our youth away from participating in like bad activities would be to maybe like have, well, first to have more social workers that actually kind of do their jobs, because a lot of the social workers at my school, they talk about the students' business, and students don't feel safe sharing information with them because they don't want their problems or the things that they have going on in their lives being shared with everyone on the staff. We can also have different programs in recreation centers and have different like meetings for awareness, like telling youth that it's okay if something's going on in your life and that you should be able to have someone you can talk to.
Thank you so much. I only have a minute left, and this is a really big question, but Ms. Fuchs, I'm curious what, if it were up to you, what you think DCPS's approach plan should be like in handling this.
I think it's two-pronged. One, it is public messaging to families. Some type of simple statement just saying we stand by you, we love you, we support you, not starting to remove things off of websites, I think is one thing that could happen. That could go as a letter that goes through the principals directly to parents if we don't want to be posting things publicly. It could be robocalls, like you name it. It could be small things. It could be just allowing teachers to be trained on the existing guidance on the DCOAG, and frankly beginning the conversation about what we do believe we need to do to protect our students in our schools. And again, those could be internal conversations. I do think kind of the other level is just getting out of the way. Like just letting teachers do their jobs and promising you're not going to fire us when we try.
Thank you.
Representative Ting?
Yeah, I would also like to thank everyone for coming here today. Every public meeting, I'm always reminded of how many challenges that DC schools face, and I thank you all. I don't have any questions as everyone's been extremely articulate. I guess I can also speak a little bit about how, I think the most relevant thing for me to speak about is how like Coach McGinnis is one of like the hardest working and most driven individuals I know. And like last year, I think she battled cancer. I'm not sure exactly what kind of cancer, while maintaining her full-time position at Basis, while doing her PCAA work. And I honestly, I would like to yield some of my time to ask her about like the cost of fields versus like the DCIA, and as well as like the expansion over recent years.
Thank you for the kind words. Yes, that means a lot. Like, I do everything I do because of these students, and all of my heart belongs to them. And yes, through my cancer battle this past year, I keep going because of them. So, but in addition, with my cancer battle, I think it became very evident in the last year how much I single-handedly hold together this league, and the fact that I had to still hold it together while also battling cancer was too extreme. And I think it has become evident to everybody around me that we are no longer at an equitable point compared to the DCIAA. When the PCSAA was started, it was like maybe 10 schools 12 years ago, and the athletic directors came together to like kind of make schedules. But now we've grown to 62 schools, 10 of those which are dual 5th through 12th grade schools, so 52 unique schools. And we do not have, charter schools typically are not built with sports in mind, so we do not have facilities, we do not have gyms, we do not have fields. So we actually are spending more money to put on our public charter school events than the regular DCIAA schools, which have tracks, football fields, soccer fields, gyms. I spend several $1,000s to rent out the fields at RFK every year to do baseball and soccer games. I think the biggest expense that is a big the biggest difference is track meets. We have to run all of our track meets as large invitationals out at PG Sports and Learning Complex. We cannot even hold them within the DC border because that is the only track that is available to us to have these meets at. I will spend $5,000 per track meet just to rent that facility. And I also have to run it as a large track meet with over 20 schools there. So we are not putting on dual meets. We are not, because we do not have the facility. I think that's like the biggest cost difference there. And I think also safety and security. We did have an incident at a basketball championship 2 years ago now, where I think if we were able to afford security and a different venue, we would have probably not had an issue. And we also don't have money for medical trainers. So it's not safe.
Thank you. Representative Chang.
Continuing down this topic, I'm curious where you have in the past or currently or see opportunities to partner with DCPS, and how has that been when you've tried?
Sure, I'm laughing because regular DCIAA, so the regular DC public school system, they don't necessarily play nice with the charter school system. I think there's some deep-rooted politics there of the number of students who are at the different entities. And that's above me to discuss probably further. But we do compete against one another in athletics, but for example, the charter schools, like if Basis were to play School Without Walls, we need to sign a contract, and there's a whole thing that has to happen there to play against them. I don't see a world where we're ever one because of the way charters and regular public schools are separated in the District of Columbia, nor do I think we need to be one. I think the charter schools are doing great and competitive, and it's great that we have different leagues that then come together with the DC State Athletic Association Championships, and you've also got the privates who do their own thing too. But as the charters have grown over the last 12 years, you know, we have so many schools and we have so little resources. And so I'm going through lottery systems to try to get the regular like rec center permits, and then also paying for these other facilities to try to put on these events for our students, the same as DCIAA would. And historically, the Public Charter School Board has not taken on us in any way, and from what I understand, this was before me, is that because each charter is operated on their own, you know, rules and regulations, it becomes difficult.
To what extent has the DC Charter Alliance gotten involved or supported this effort? Have you been in touch with them?
I've served as the president for the last 4 years. We have, as a volunteer board, discussed this many times of trying to need to go another route to try to get funding and try to figure this out. But again, we're barely scrapping by with our full-time paid jobs to even have time to sit down and do something. And so it really has come about because of my students. I think because of my cancer journey, they've seen what I've gone through and kind of stepped up to try to make a first move here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Representative Goulet?
I want to
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Representative Colson.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Alphabet has changed.
Not your fault. Just read the paper, Rob.
Representative Goulet actually could have gone. I would have been fine with that, but thank you so much. I want to say thank you to Naima for highlighting her concerns and speaking on behalf of DC Girls Coalition. My colleague already asked you a question, and I just wanted to follow up and ask if there's any program or any initiative that you've seen that you like that you would recommend be replicated. That's my first question. And then while I have Coach here, I just want to say, Coach, and to the student with you, thank you so much for illuminating these disparities. I was not aware, and this has been a teachable moment. Thank you so much. But back to Naima, if you can answer that question, please. If she's still there. Yeah.
To be honest with you, I haven't seen any programs so far that have really gotten to the youth, because I feel like many of the youth in DC kind of resent like the idea of going to a professional and getting help if they have any conflict in their lives. But I think if we were, if we work, the organization that I'm a part of, if we work closely with leaders in DC, we can create a program where youth in DC actually feel like they can share what's going on in their lives and where they feel safe.
Thank you so much for that. I look forward to working with you if you will have me, and I yield the rest of my time.
Representative Goulet.
Thank you. I now know that I do not go after Representative Chang because things have changed. I appreciate all of you coming in. I want to thank you for your testimony. Nicholas, thank you for coming and testifying before our C committee this week. We did our first Student Experience and Engagement Committee, and we added this issue to the work plan for the year at that committee, which we'll present to the board at the working session. So we're going to absolutely take this up. I want to definitely thank you, Ms. McNitch, for your absolute dedication to do all of this amazing work. And, you know, I think there's actually even 3 issues here that we need to tackle. It's not just funding of the State Athletic Association, but it's for charter schools. It would be also trying to eliminate this fee that the children are paying to participate in sports. Our youth shouldn't have to pay $500, $600 to participate. So I would love to see us, you know, find a way where the city is covering that, because we should be striving for universal out-of-school time programming that's free and affordable to all students. So that would be something I would like to look at, and then also additional resources for you to host your meets. I mean, it's being only as somebody who ran track from 3rd grade through law school. I mean, if you cut the invitation, if you only have invitationals, you really cut out a lot of participation. The dual meets is where everybody gets to participate. So I'd love to work with you on that and just try to make it something where we can increase participation and it's available to everybody. So just thank you for your service. Lastly, Ms. Fuchs, thank you for raising this issue. We've already seen an effort by the U.S. Attorney to try to chill curriculum at Georgetown University. And if they're willing to do it there, they're going to come for us. So you're right, we need to be ready on it, and we need to hold firm. We have great educational standards, and our student performance has gone up while we've seen performance across the nation dip down. So we're teaching the right things. Thank you for your efforts on it. And we do need to hold firm because we are, I think we did pass best in the nation social studies standards, and we need to stick to what our guns are on that. So thank you so much for coming in, and thank you to all of you.
Thank you. Representative Henderson.
Thank you all. Ms. Fuchs, as a classroom teacher, is it clear to you that the OAG guidance is what you should be following?
No, there's been zero communication at the classroom level. And principals, when asked directly, don't really have understanding of the guidance, minus if there is a judicial warrant, let them through.
All right, thank you. I want to echo what Representative Goulet said about the standards that we passed, have passed, including the social studies standards. I certainly stand behind all the work that we have done to date. I want to thank Nicholas. It's good to see you again. Thank you for your advocacy for the city as well as for sports, for the charter schools. I think that some of this results from the structure of the system that we have. But at some point, we are a school system, and so we need to be able to figure this out. So I appreciate that the C committee is going to take this up, and I hope that we can move towards a solution that is more equitable for our students, whatever level it needs to get to make that happen. So thank you all, and thank you all who testified.
Thank you. Representative Johnson-Law.
Thank you all so much for your testimony. Ms. McNeish, I want to start with you really quickly. Do you know how much it would cost to, I guess, get you all, like, I don't want to say fully funded, but just maybe functional? Like, is there like a number you all have talked about, you and Nicholas? And thank you, Nicholas. Nice to see you again.
When I was working on the resolution that was presented at the last working session, we estimated that based off the current budget of the DCI which is like $1 million worth of salaries, $1 million and change, like 1,010,000. And then Coach McNinch, President McNinch illuminated to me that the costs of running the PCSAA currently are like 167,000, that's the cost of just putting on the events. So if with like some improvements to be on the level of the DCIAA, it would probably be about 300,000, which is in line with the DCSAA. Though I think when I was talking to Coach Lynch, I think you have something you could like illuminate on with that, right?
Yes, so I think the initial conversation among just the volunteer board the last year or two has been, at minimum, we need 1.5 full-time paid positions to start. At minimum. And then we also need to have funding to cover all of these events we're putting on with the budget that Nick just mentioned, 167,000. That's like bare bones. That's that we have trophies for events and we have medals for track, but we don't have your big award ceremonies. We don't have Coach of the Year. We don't have any of those things. We have minimal safety and security things such as medical trainers. I mean, we operate bare bones on basically everything we do with security as well. But yeah, ideally, I think we have more schools than the DCIAA at this point, and so to put things on to be equitable, it would have to be a comparable budget, I think. And I do want to clarify, students paying $500 to participate, that is unique to Basis DC, the school that Nick goes to and the school that I work at, and that is because each charter runs sports in a different way, and Basis DC does not give me any funding through pupil money from the city to run sports. And so that is unique to Basis DC. Other schools may pay like have a $35 registration fee, some might have a $150 registration fee. It's
Okay.
different in each
It's different.
charter school.
Okay.
Some are free.
Yes, we're gonna follow up, and in my last 20 seconds, to Ms. Fuchs. Ms. Fuchs, Magic Wand, if you're the mayor and you have all these people coming at you in different ways and threatening basically all of your residents with your budget, what would you do?
Now, I mean, you're asking an activist. I would take a stand. The way that the governors are doing, the way that other people are doing. We're getting attacked. That's just a matter of time. You don't blame the mayor for what Trump is going to do just because she said the wrong thing. Giving in just means he's getting what he wants. He's still going to do it. At some point, they're coming for us.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Fuchs.
Yes, thank you. Representative Thompson.
Good evening. I want to start with what I don't understand, which is the sports association. A little bit about it. It would be helpful for me. You said you have been the president the past 4 years. Is it fair for me to assume that this has been in existence 4 years? Has it been longer than that? Was it set up as all volunteer? How has your capacity grown? Just give me a sense of, what the internals are.
Sure. About 12 years ago, I think there was maybe 10 charter schools, particularly the high schools, the athletic directors came together to coordinate schedules and playing each other in order to have a basically basketball. Let's take, for example, the charter schools came together to play against each other because they were having a hard time getting games against the regular public schools or private schools. And also with the charter schools, if all of those basketball teams play against each other and we have a tournament and we have a champion, now that champion has an automatic bid into the DC State Athletic Association Championship. So there was a need for us to also have a bid into the DC State Championship. So the way sports are in DC is there's a DC State Athletic Association, and they oversee all sports. And then there's the DCIAA, which is what I call the regular public schools. And then there's the public charter schools, and then there's the privates, which kind of have 3 weird entities within that. And then we all come together for the DC State Championships, in which DC SAA puts on. And so about 12 years ago, a couple athletic directors came together, formed this volunteer board of how we're going to operate and be able to put on sports for the charter school students because the public charter school board would not take them on.
Okay.
However, we've now grown, particularly middle schools. I think we have 19 high schools and 43 middle schools now. But specifically since COVID, we've just blown up. We've grown.
So, okay. So I graduated from a charter school more than 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not talking about how many more than 12 years ago. We did play private schools.
Mm-hmm.
Is it fair to say that your only relationship to DCSAA is in relationship to the championship bid? They don't provide any other coordinations? Is that correct and fair?
Correct. Although
Okay.
they have a handbook which has rules which all schools must follow in terms of like student eligibility and things like that. So all of us are held to the same standards, but that is only for high school students.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. Thank you for being here tonight, and so sorry to hear that, your health caused this to be illuminated further.
Thank you.
Representative Best.
All right. No, I as the only person up here who was actually an athletic director, this resonates. Our students are better because of the work that you're doing. Our schools are better. And honestly, when I was doing it, you were the person who really introduced me to everything, and so I think I was better because of you. I guess I can speak for Representative Goulet as well. The two of us are definitely going to look at this and take this on because I do believe that this is an equity issue. And I know that when I initially took on the role of an AD, it was supposed to be part of my job. And it ended up being a significant part of my job. And I think that it's grown tremendously since I did that, because I think that was 4 years ago. Oh, no, it was COVID. It was COVID. So it's blown up tremendously since then. Now, no, goodness. Um, I guess what I'm saying is we will, and just speaking for myself and Representative Goulet, really do all that we can to make sure that we do this. But I also want to share that the timing is going to be everything. Is like whatever happens with this amendment the bill with the House is going to dictate like whether this happens this year or if it happens next year. But I will make sure that I'm doing all that I can to push this. So I don't really have any questions. I just wanted to make sure that I put in my support for this as well. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President Williams.
Yeah, I'll pick up where Representative Best left off. I also support you being here in the work, and thank you, Representative Ting, for bringing this issue to us. I'm a current DCPS teacher, but previously I was a DCPS charter teacher and a varsity basketball coach at Capital City, so I've experienced the system with that firsthand. I'm curious to a couple things. One, you talked a lot about like the fields and facilities costs. And I imagine you've tried this, but I'm just curious what the response has been. Has DCPS been willing to like share facilities, or like we have tracks, like why can't you use their tracks?
That's a really great question.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have a super clear answer on that, other than if I want to use a DCPS facility, I need to put in for that through the DC Parks and Rec facility reservation system. So Dunbar Track, for example, they have certain times and you can put in a special request for that. I have put in for that before. We had 1 year where they did end up saying they denied my regular season meets, but they did say we could hold the championship there, but I didn't get the confirmation until it was too late. It was maybe a few weeks before the championship. At that point, I've already made plans elsewhere. I have to have the dates locked in well in advance. So I think there's a complication in the system there. And again, I don't know if it's like more deep-rooted politics that I can't speak on. I'm not sure, but a few years ago, it was actually like the weekend before COVID first hit, we did, as the PCSAA put in for equal rights in terms of reserving DPR facilities, and we did win that. So we have equal reservation priority with DPR facilities now, but that's still, Dunbar High School themselves or the DCIAA has priority still for that facility because it's not a regular rec center, for example.
Yeah, thank you. And I've heard too that there's too many perceived costs that DCPS would incur that have made it not wanting to share facilities. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I only have about 40 seconds. Mm-hmm. So I want to say a couple final things. So one, I'm curious your opinion, and I'd like to follow up with you afterwards, but around one, the role like that trainers, referees play in like not creating opportunities for students to have games, because you can't have a game without a trainer, and sometimes schools will have to share trainers or there just aren't enough trainers, and that and a great inequity with that. The rating system of sports, which seems to be, in my view, deeply flawed. And then Ms. Fuchs, I'll just say to you, thank you for being here, and I do think we need a plan and a strategy for this federal oncoming attack, and I'm with you in figuring that out.
Thank you, Vice President Williams. President Patterson.
Thank you, ma'am. First, I want to address the athletic situation. I truly appreciate you guys coming and attacking, address, so to speak, this issue that's a huge inequity. As you guys have stated, clearly charter schools started without the concept of really having a fielding sports team. Mm-hmm. So when it ballooned, it grew out of proportion, so to speak, and they have yet to address it. So there are many inequities. As a person who works at a LEA, has worked with Representative Best, as he was, building for that particular LEA, their sports program out. I understand what you face. There is a lot of politics in it. So what I will say to that is that I look forward to working with you. To Ms. Fuchs, I just appreciate the passion, and I also appreciate you pushing us and alarming the bell, so to speak, of not what could happen or what's going to happen. Months ago, I told people that basically in Project 2025, on page 322, because I read it, they refer to the children of the District of Columbia as federal children, literally as federal children. And they talk about how they want to do things in the District of Columbia. I know some people get nervous and they think if we don't do anything, maybe they'll just bypass us, but we have learned in those interim months that is not going to be the case. They are going to do what they have always planned to do and what they have published that they're going to do. I think it is incumbent that we ensure we wrap things around ensuring that our children can get a quality education, that they can be taught the truth, as you said, unencumbered, that they can be affirmed in what they're getting from their education. Everybody up here worked very hard on the standards that we currently have. We extended the time, as you remember, just so we can make sure that we address as many issues as we possibly can. And I appreciate your testimony during that time, because I know that's your subject matter. But I will say to this group, we cannot just think that this is just going to go away, or that we can't approach it or say anything because we're scared that we may get a control board, or we may get, something might happen to home rule. There has to be a line, and I believe, and I hope my colleagues and other people believe, that that line is education, it's public education, where we will not stand for somebody to tell us how we're going to teach, what our kids can receive as far as a quality education. So I appreciate you, because I only have 8 seconds, of what you're doing. I look forward to working with my board to make sure that our children can receive a quality public education. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank all of our first round of public witnesses. We also would like to remind you, if you have not submitted a written copy of your testimony, to please do so and email it to SBOE@dc.gov so that we can make it an official part of the record for tonight's meeting. At this time, we will call our final round of public witnesses. First, we have Terrence Eshgrid. Terrence. Khalil Daniels. Yasmin Salina. Yasmin. Kiana Lamont. Jessica Giles. All right, we will start with Mr. Daniels.
All right. Good evening. My name is Khalil Daniels. I'm a criminology major, strategic and legal communications minor at Howard University. Today I'll be talking about allocating funds for DC public education. I have founded a nonprofit at Howard University called YVAC, the Young Voices Action Collective, where our root focus is uplifting the next generation of leaders from marginalized and colored communities. Organizations like these are very important, but still aren't sufficient in comparison to the funding certain public schools receive in certain areas from the DC General Fund. Equity in education is a civil right and should be maintained as such. Children should not be subject to equality of learning based on what ward they live in. Funding should be allocated across every ward to ensure academic excellence in DC as a whole through the public school system. Worthier wards, for example, Ward 2 and 3, are home to schools that tend to perform better academically than in schools, say in Ward 7 or 8. They receive substantially a greater amount of funding, which contribute to more modern facilities and higher test scores. Funding disparities in poorer wards are exacerbated by the economic conditions of the surrounding communities. Consequently, the quality of education suffers. The challenges are further compounded by issues like overcrowding and high teacher turnover. as well as outdated materials and fewer extracurricular opportunities, which further the school to prison pipeline by giving less alternative activities to our youth, which don't keep them as engaged in school. And they need to be engaged in school so they can stay in the schools and be going to schools consistently. I say this to implore you all to lobby to your DC council and mayor the following solutions: equalizing funding by allocating more money to poor districts through mechanisms like a weighted funding formula per se, which would take into account the unique needs of students in different areas. For example, low-income students, English language learners, or students with disabilities, as well as potentially implementing a wealth tax, funneling more money into underfunded districts without significantly burdening the lower or higher income communities. And finally, Title I funding, increasing the funding and improving the distribution of Title I resources. Again, I urge you to take the fight to the new administration with federal funding being in question for the next fiscal year. And that would just trickle down again to equity within the DC public education in the specific wards. As an active DC member, and again with my nonprofit, I've been inside the schools. I've talked to students in these schools about their experiences and compared those to other schools that I've been to in different wards. And I believe that funding is important for equity in education to give these students a better experience in DC public education. Thank you.
Thank you. Kiana Lamont, excuse me.
Good evening, members of the State Board of Education. My name is Quiana Lamont. I'm a proud Ward 7 resident and a paid parent leader. All my children attend DC public schools. I'm here today to speak about the critical importance of continuing to fund Safe Passage. Safe Passage is a key to helping our students in the district thrive. Having a safe way for our students to get to and from school each day will increase the number of students in school. This can help lower truancy rate. The more frequently students go to school and are able to focus on learning, the more likely we will see improvement in the math and reading outcomes across the district. Safe Passage plays a critical role in ensuring our students are able to succeed. This is why paid parent leaders are focused on advocating for Safe Passage. This year, we are advocating to continue funding and expansion of DC School Connect program. We need to expand the program in order to give our children an opportunity to have a safe and reliable way to get to school. Ideally, as the program grows, it will include equipping DC School Connect with the proper training to ensure students with disability can receive the support they need if they decide to take the DC School Connect bus. DC School Connect provides parents with a sense of relief and peace as they know their children have a safe way to get to school without having to worry about any of the chaos or danger that can occur on public school transportation. Not only are we advocating for the expansion of DC School Connect, but we are also advocating for the continued support of Safe Passage Ambassador program. SPAs plays a vital role in the community. However, the quality can vary greatly across schools and locations. This is why we are advocating for standardized training for SPAs. This will include training about neighborhood-specific content. Ensuring each SBA receives standardized quality training can help all SBAs perform to the best of their ability and keep our children safe. We are also advocating for the implementation of a strong system of communication between the Safe Passage Ambassador and school leaders in the same area. Communication plays a key role in keeping our students safe. SPAs must have a quick way and effective communication with local school leaders in case of an emergency. Our babies deserve to feel safe however they decide to travel to school. This is why I urge the State Board of Education to advocate for the continued funding and expansion of DC School Connect program and for the continued funding and improvement of Safe Passage Ambassador program. Let us work together to keep our students safe. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. I look forward to answering any questions.
Thank you. Jessica Giles.
Good evening, Executive Director, Butler, State Board representatives, student representatives, and staff. My name is Jessica Giles. I'm a resident of Ward 7 and the Executive Director of the DC Chapter of Education Reform Now Advocacy, an organization advocating for a just and equitable public education system for all students. Today, I'm urging the State Board to vote no on SR 25-6. Over the past few years, the State Board has been a powerful advocate for student-first policies. It has secured investments, helped secure investments in structured literacy training, supported the passage of seizure-safe schools, approved menstrual health, financial literacy, and social-emotional learning standards. The board also took the lead in addressing math instruction, calling for a math task force to strengthen student learning. This progress should be applauded and continued. However, I believe SR 25-6 is the wrong approach. We oppose this proposal for 3 key reasons. One, we believe this is misplaced priorities amid a financial crisis that we've heard a lot of today. The district is facing this crisis. Department of Education's budget has been cut in half. Excuse me, its federal workers have been cut in half. FY 2025 spending has been reduced by $1.1 billion, and revenue has fallen by $1 billion. Further, there are ongoing federal threats to DC tag and the district's home rule. At a time when urgent student needs remain unmet, the State Board should not focus on expanding its own authority, but rather on protecting and expanding policies that directly impact student learning and success. Second, the board already has the necessary authority. In its performance oversight responses, the State Board acknowledged that its operations face no statutory or regulatory impediments. If the board can already fulfill its responsibilities, then why expand its authority? The focus should remain on ensuring state policies and academic standards, such as what I just mentioned. Third, governance structures with clear lines of authority and accountability yield better outcomes for students. And so under the current structure, the state superintendent and mayor's office have executive authority, allowing for a nimble student-centered policy making, expanding the board's authority, risk slowing decision-making and introducing political uncertainty given its shifting leadership every year. So on the particular recommendations that have been proposed around data access, we support language that allows the board to obtain timely data from OSSE, given its special relationship with the agency, but broader access to all agencies is unnecessary. With regards to policy and initiation amendment, we oppose giving the board the power to initiate and amend policies with slow progress and create conflicts with OSSE. And in terms of great weight authority in all education decisions, we oppose. This could create inefficiencies by subjecting all agency decisions to additional delays. Expanding the board's authority would not improve student outcomes.
Thank you, Ms. Giles.
Uncertainty and delays. Thank you.
At this time, we will have our final round of member questions. Representative Mayer.
Thank you all so much for your testimony. Mr. Daniels, I'm curious, could you tell us a little bit more about your organization and what your experience in DC schools has been like?
Sure, of course. So my organization, YVAC Young Voices Action Collective, is a youth-led nonprofit organization, again, where our main mission is uplifting the next generation of leaders from marginalized and colored communities. And we do that through a plethora of ways, including going to school, doing resource drives for schools that may not have the resources that students need to excel in the classroom, going into the community and doing food drives, as well as constitutional right workshops. I'll be at Dunbar High School on the 31st to do a constitutional workshop with their high school. So we do things like that to educate and empower the youth so that they can know that they have the power to make change.
Thank you so much for all the work you do. I have no further questions. I yield my time.
Thank you. Representative Ting.
I would also like to follow up on the same person. So like, for example, I think on the DC report card it says like Jackson Reed has, I think, 22 to 23K spending per pupil, while like Eastern High School has like 27K. Like, what do you want? What numbers are you like proposing for increasing funding?
I don't have a number per se. My main mission is for equity and funding through all wards. So if the number is 30K, then the number needs to be 30K across the board for all wards, so that the money can be allocated throughout the school for students to again excel in the classroom.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I don't really have any further questions. I yield my time.
Thank you. Representative Colson.
Thank you, everyone, for your testimony. I want to go back to Ms. Lemons, and I don't have a question. I just want to say that I'm happy to hear that you raised the concern about communication with Safe Passage. While we appreciate the visibility that they have in front of our schools, I think that they will increase their efficiency if there was more streamlined communication and interference or disturbance interruption. So expanding their capacity is something that you touched on, and I will concur with you, but I have no questions at this time. Thank you.
Representative Goulet.
I want to thank you all for your testimony. Mr. Daniels, I'll start with you. So thank you for coming in. We had some discussion on this issue yesterday, and I think you'll actually be pleased. Like, the DC is ahead of most jurisdictions on this issue. So we have what is called the Uniform Per Student Funding Formula. And some of the issues you mentioned there, we actually have weighted formulas in there so that more funds will flow to the LEA for those students. So for example, we do have an at-risk formula, so students that have demographic indicators that they would need additional supports would get those resources. We also have a weight for level 1 through 4 special education needs within our formula, and then a weight for English language learners. So we try to, through that formula, address those issues. However, every so often, maybe every 4 to 5 years, sometimes longer, there's what's called a Uniform Per Student Funding Formula Adequacy Study, where we look at whether those amounts are actually sufficient to meet both the general and then specialized education needs of those students. So I think that's an area that if you're looking to try to focus in on, would be a way to really make a difference, is are we providing enough funding for those weights to address the student needs? And I'd be glad to help connect you to that. I think I would caution against trying to say we should try to shift funding within the system. I think we need additional resources. Like, for example, in Ward 3, that's where the overcrowding issue that you mentioned is really a problem. And the way that impacts us is several ways. One, right now we're facing the loss of all of our pre-kindergarten slots for 3-year-olds because we don't have enough space in the public schools to have any in our DC public schools. So they've all been in community-based organizations, but since those are losing their funding, families don't have anywhere to go for pre-K. So we've got to address that issue of space across the system. And for Ward 3 also, then, students with disabilities often can't get an inclusive education near where they live because there's just not the physical space for those classrooms, which is concerning in a multiple number of ways, because you have the students then going to private schools is the only way they can get the type of education that their IEP dictates. So I'd love to work with you on this. I think we're doing very well on this issue compared to other jurisdictions, but there still is room for improvement. And I think the way we do it is we fund the at-risk and we fund everything through the UPSFF at a level that meets those needs. So I appreciate you coming in. I thank all the witnesses for their time tonight, and look forward to working with you as you continue to advocate on this.
Sure, thank you.
Representative Henderson.
Thank you all for your testimony. I have no questions at this time. Thank you.
Representative Johnson Law.
Thank you all for your testimony. Ms. Lamons, thank you for your testimony on Safe Passage. I know we've all been advocating for it to be fully funded. Ms. Giles, thank you for all you do in your advocacy. But most of my time I want to spend with Mr. Daniels. Mr. Daniels, my name's LaJoy and I represent Ward 8. And so when we talk about economically disadvantaged and just equity, Ward 8 is one of those places. And while Representative Goulet is correct, we do have more money, there's the math ain't mathin', if that makes sense. All of this money that we're putting into our schools, and yet Ward 8 is still further behind. Like, let me give you an alarming number to help set the stage. In Ward 8, our math proficiency rate, do you know what that is?
I do not. Can you tell me, please?
9.5%. Single digits. 9. And so with all the money that we have, there's still a disconnect. And I don't know if you've ever heard about community schools. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes. Yes, I have.
Okay. And so my suggestion to you is, as you're advocating, look more into community schools and how we bring more resources to the community. Because we can pour all this money per student, but if they're still having all of these other challenges before they get to school, that's going to affect the school. If they're having all these challenges when they leave school, like if they're having housing challenges, if they're having food challenges, if they're having income challenges, employment challenges, family challenges, mental health challenges, safety challenges, that's a lot of challenges.
Yes.
And so with the money that's per pupil, it's, again, the math is not mathing. So I want you to feel validated in what you're doing, and I want you to keep going in your advocacy, because you're not crazy. What you see, it is happening. So even with everything that's going on in DC and how great DC is a wonderful place. But guess what? We all have work to do. And I want to be real in my last 56 seconds. We have to do a better job fighting for Black children. DC is supposed to be the model city. We are the capital of the United States. There should be no single digits here in proficiency. There should be no 17% in ELA proficiency. Not with all the resources that we have here, not in the richness that we have here. So you're not crazy. Keep going. And whatever it is that you need, we would love to be able to have you. But have you been to Ward 8 schools in my last 16 seconds?
No, I haven't been to a Ward 8 school yet.
Would you like to go?
I definitely would. If we could talk after about that, I would love to set that up.
Come on, let's go. We gonna go to a couple, okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Representative Thompson.
Thank you all for rounding our testimony this evening. Ms. Lamont, I heard you say that you are a Board 7 parent. We have a shared priority of safe passage, so I do want you to know that. I want to note that in December, that was one of the things that the board included in its budget letter to the mayor. I also want to note that many of our ANCs and other elected officials also are very supportive of expanding safe passage. I really appreciate you talking about the communication and the quality, because it is important to me both that we make sure those resources and programs exist, and that they are actually serving our kids well. And so I'm happy to connect with you if you have other recommendations about how to improve the program. But please do know that we do have a shared budget priority around that. And I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. Representative Best.
Thank you all for your testimony. I have no further questions at this moment.
Representative Chang.
Also, thank you. No questions at this time.
Vice President Williams.
I'm going to do the same thing. So thank you for your testimony and for being here. I yield the rest of my time.
President Patterson.
I think I'm going to break the trend for a minute, okay? I truly appreciate everybody's testimony. All of my colleagues have touched on things that I was about to say, so I won't go into those again, whether that's safe passage, community schools. But Mr. Daniels, you said a word that I cannot bypass, and you mentioned a word that is near and dear to me and something that I've been working on, and you mentioned the word civil rights. In the course of talking about equity, resources, distribution of those resources, how those things get done. I appreciate everyone who has talked about how we fund different things, the weighted that we put on different parts of the budget and everything like that. But we know that we're facing a problem where historically certain communities did not receive the type of resources that they need. So there is a difference between, equal funding in certain areas and what equity means to bring those who have been left behind or not funded or marginalized up to speed, okay? Your testimony spoke to the very thing that I've been talking about for a couple of months, which is quality education is a civil right. Contrary to a lot of people who think it's about suing someone or something to that extent, what it really speaks about is what you talked about. Making sure that children that are in certain areas get the type of resources that they need to get a quality education. It's really that simple, right? And when that doesn't happen, that the parent has some type of recourse to address that issue. Not that they're looking for a monetary settlement or anything like that, but what they're looking for is the same thing that our forefathers were looking at, our ancestors were looking for, is to make sure that they have the same type of schooling, the same type of resources, opportunities within their school. To me, that should be a no-brainer, that every parent wants their child to receive a quality education, and that they should have the right to address that when that is not being done. That's me, okay? And I look forward to working with you and talking to you more about this. I don't know if you are aware that I actually have been talking about this for a couple months, but I look forward to, as it moves to a committee within the State Board of Education, speaking with you more, coming out into the community to talk about it more, okay? So I appreciate so much you mentioning that word and talking about it and giving it a face, so to speak, as we talk about what our families need in community. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, excuse me. Thank you all for our public witnesses tonight. Again, I ask if you have not submitted your written testimony to please do so at SBOE@dc.gov so that we can include it in the public record. At this time, I turn the meeting back over to our president.
And like our director, I want to thank all the public witnesses for their comments tonight. We truly appreciate you guys coming in and speaking about issues that are truly passionate to us and that we need to hear about and advocate and uplift. We will now move to vote on 3 state resolutions. I will look for a motion and a second, followed by Director Butler reading the resolution into the record. Once the resolution is read into the record, we will open it up to member discussion before a roll call vote are conducted. We will now move to a vote on state resolution SR 25-4, appointing representative to external committee. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Johnson Law. Second?
Second.
It has been seconded by Representative Henderson. Motion properly being moved to second. Director Butler, will you read the resolution into the record?
Yes.
Mr. President, could I move at this time a motion to waive the reading of the resolution?
Yes, you may.
So moved.
Second.
Has been properly moved in second. Okay. So we call for a vote. A voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition to it? No. All right. Is there a discussion? Okay. Seeing no discussion. The motion is to adopt SR 25-4. Director Butler, will you call the roll?
Representative Mayor.
Aye.
Representative Ting.
Aye.
Representative Best.
Aye.
Representative Chang.
Aye.
Representative Colson.
Aye.
Representative Goulet.
Aye.
Representative Henderson.
Aye.
Representative Johnson Law.
Aye.
Representative Thompson.
Aye.
Vice President Williams.
Aye.
President Patterson.
Aye.
SR 25-4, State Board of Education Resolution appointing representatives to its steering committee has passed unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we will move to vote on State Resolution SR 25-5, promoting DC STEM, supporting technology, equity, and math. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Representative Best. Is there a second?
Second.
It has been seconded by our student representative team. Okay, the motion has been properly moved and seconded by, has been properly seconded. Director Butler, will you read the resolution?
President Patterson,
Yes.
I'd like to move a motion
I
to
was
waive the
waiting.
reading of the ruling, please, or of the resolution. Thank you.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Read it too many times.
It's been properly moved and seconded. I will call for a voice vote to move that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? None being done. Is there discussion?
Sure.
I apologize. Thank you again. Is there a student advisory committee statement? Thank you so much.
Yes, there is. So the Student Advisory Committee strongly supports SR 25-5, promoting DC STEM. A few students gave feedback regarding concerns about budgetary constraints, and others wanted expansion beyond AP classes, specifically for IB classes. Students also provided general agreement with the aim of the resolution and the need for universal access to handheld graphing calculators for advanced placement courses. The final vote was 26 in favor, 1 opposed, with no abstentions.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Well, discussion? Representative?
Okay. So I'll speak a little bit about this.
Yes.
So this came about first towards the YMCA Youth and Government program, and there's our program director right there in the back. And it passed almost, I think almost unanimously last year when I sent it through rooms full of dozens and dozens of teenagers. We serve a lot of people from east of the river as well. I think it was like 40% or something, or east of the river students, middle and high school. And so then after this, we took it through the Student Advisory Committee, and they were generally supportive of this. And then like they wanted it to be fleshed out, and then we fleshed it out. For example, Representative Johnson Law has made a really great effort in, like, I asked her, like, hey, how do I, like, incorporate SPED into this? And then she came in and she had, like, all these, like, bullet points and, like, hit this whole email, and I was like, wow, like, I was sitting there, like, I'm stunned. And then so I did my best to faithfully incorporate that into, like, a few paragraphs at the bottom. Then after that, we had presented in front of the SEC. It is true, like, there was, like 1 or 2 people did talk about expanding to IB courses. For me, every school has to offer an AP math class, and I thought that, and only like 2 schools or something offer IB courses. I don't know if that includes IB math classes. And I know that AP math classes are the gold standard, where like almost every single like college counselor, I think I have like a study in there saying like over 95% or 90% recommend taking AP math. That's just what's like expected. That's why I focused on that. And then other highlights are, I was able to do the math, and it's initially at the working session I did present it at 200K accidentally, or no, not at the working session. At one point it did read 200K. That was a mistake. It only cost 100K. The reason it cost 100K is because I'm doing this for charter schools. I'm doing this for public charters, for DCPS, and I'm doing this to include AP pre-calculus, which is like a new thing that a lot of students are taking. I guess. And then I guess, okay, I'm taking too much time, but last thing is like, today, like our panel talked about access to advanced coursework and how that was important to get kids into engineering and stuff. And, you know, as a prospective engineer, I don't have it right, but it's in my bag. The calculator that I have has gotten me through AP Physics 1, AP Physics 2, AP Calculus AV, Calculus VC, post-AP multivariable calculus, and post-AP linear algebra, CAPS and linear algebra. And like I could not have done this without the calculator. Like I swear to God, like I cannot graph that in my head. So thank you.
Truly appreciate all your advocacy and leadership on this issue. Is there other discussions people would like to add? Okay. Sure? Okay. Seeing no further discussion, the motion is to adopt SR 25-5. Director Butler, will you call the roll?
Representative Mayer.
Aye.
Representative Ting.
Aye.
Representative Best.
Aye.
Representative Chang.
Absolutely, yes.
Representative Colson.
Aye.
Representative Goulet.
Aye.
Representative Henderson.
Aye.
Representative Johnson Law.
Absolutely, yes.
Representative Thompson.
Aye.
Vice President Williams.
Aye.
President Patterson.
Enthusiastically, aye.
SR 25-5, State Board of Education Resolution promoting DC STEM, supporting technology, equality, and math has passed unanimously.
Thank you, everyone. Yes, that is something to celebrate, so thank you. Next, we will move to vote on State Resolution 25-6, recommendations for expanding state board authority. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved by Representative Henderson. Is there a second?
Second.
It has been seconded by Representative Johnson Law. The motion has been properly moved and seconded. But Director Butler, would you
President
read the
Pedersen,
resolution? Yes.
At this time, may I
Representative
move a
Goulet?
motion to waive the reading of the resolution? So moved.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It has been seconded by Representative Henderson. Okay. Thank you. Is there a Student Advisory Committee statement?
Oh, yeah, that's me. I will be reading the Student Advisory Committee. So, the Student Advisory Committee, SAC, strongly supports 25-6 recommendations for expanding state board authority. While clarifying questions were asked, there was little feedback given, though one member did appreciate a certain representative's down-to-earth efforts to hold a central table position. The final vote was 33 in favor, 1 opposed, and 0 abstentions.
Is there discussion? Representative Henderson.
I would just like to thank the working group, Representative Thompson, Representative Goulet, for working on this. I see it as a modest expansion of board authority that I believe will help us to do our job better, which is to represent our constituents and work for the students of the district.
Representative Goulet.
I would also like to thank the members of the working group. It was a really good discussion. I think, we did hear some concerns about this. As someone who does support mayoral control of schools, who enjoys the fact that we've seen a lot of success under that model, I'm not looking to change the model. I think what we should be looking to do, though, is make adjustments to reflect the fact that there was a discussion of this, an extensive report on it. We got together to try to think of ways we could expand our power right now in a thoughtful way that wasn't trying to cause additional resources or create any strain for the city's budget. And I think we've done that with these recommendations. I think they're modest, but I think they do make improvements to the way we do our business. And some are really only there if we need them. So a lot of what we're proposing here would be something that we would not have to utilize with OSSI, because we've had a great working relationship with OSSI. For the 2+ years that I've been on the board, we would not need to make a special request for data. We would not need to initiate policy, because it's been a collaborative relationship, one of mutual respect. And I think this would be a situation where this could happen in the future, and we've tried to think through those scenarios, but it wouldn't be something that would be needed now. So I just view this as kind of a natural progression and growth of the board, but in a responsible way. And I am drafting legislation on this. We're hoping that we get it on the agenda here. I appear to have missed the cutoff by about 3 hours on that, to my dismay, because I was sitting there proofreading it one last time before we had it out. But we will have that on the next agenda, then some accompanying legislation that will then be sent over to DC Council to be able to then be considered by the Committee of the Whole and hopefully the full Council to implement this resolution. So I thank my working group members again and the board for their support of this.
Representative Johnson Law.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just like as a new member, like coming onto the board and serving Ward 8, I just want to thank the board, the entire board, for their work on this. A lot of our constituents, and actually I'm going to go back, I'm going to use the words of Dr. Colson when she says, maybe you're focused on the wrong things, so the politics of it, that's focusing on the wrong thing. Our constituents come to us with so many different issues, and we want to be able to give them timely answers. We want to give them timely information. We want to be able to tell them what we're doing, in addition to the advocacy that we're doing. So as a new member, I just want to thank the board for their work on this. So thank you.
There other discussion? I'm going to go to our student representative real quick before I come back. Representative Thompson.
Thank you. I just wanted to quickly thank Representative Goulet and Representative Thompson for coming in and giving a really thorough and helpful presentation about this to the Student Advisory Committee, because I know that it was helpful both in the context of this resolution and in the context of the operations of the State Board and DC education policy in general. Everything you said was really helpful for me and for the other students who were there, so I just wanted to thank you so much for that.
Representative Thompson.
You're welcome. Apparently, Representative Goulet brings me for backup when stuff gets hard. This is what happens at student advisory
It worked. I
committee
lost the
meetings.
last vote, and I won this one because you were there.
I did my
I lost
best.
7 to 18 the last vote, so.
And now we're at 33. And so we'll work on that one. I think a couple things are true. I was hoping to be able to vote on the legislation as well this evening, so I'm expecting that we'll be able to vote on that next month. I do believe that these recommendations are thoughtful. I think anytime we make changes or suggest changes to a system, it's agnostic of personality. And so one of the things that was very important to me was, as we talked through why things happen, is that we centered what could be possible and also just improving upon some of what has been done and what we've needed to do. And so I do see this not as an indictment of work of past. I do also see it as a necessary next step to be able to have our education system be stronger. And I hope that our colleagues on the board will support this work, both with their votes tonight, but also as we recommend these changes to the larger council.
Thank you, Representative Thompson. I don't see anyone else, so I'm going to take the opportunity to go last. In comments about this, for the people who don't know the history, like, there was a time where we actually took this up as a report. That group was chaired, or we had the governor's report. That group was chaired by Representative Thompson in our board's last iteration. And there were some really hard conversations. We came out with 18 recommendations, different recommendations, I believe, in that report, or something thereabout. 8, okay, I'm sorry. I added 10, 10 definitely, 8, okay. But I remember the heated conversations that we had about this. There were letters that was actually sent, like we were doing a power grab, so to speak, as a state board, that it was an attack, so to speak, on mayoral control. But in my perspective, and I appreciate the work that we went through with that report, and for the group that brought it back to life after it was done. It has been sitting on a shelf, so to speak, that report, and they came back and said this is still relevant for how the State Board of Education can do their job. Anybody who has ever, served in a capacity, elected position, knows that constituents come to you and ask you, what can you do? Like, what is your job? Like, can you help me with this problem? And as Representative Johnson Law said, a lot of times we had to say, no, I can't help you with that. No, I can't help you with that. I can talk about it. What this does is allow us to do our job more effectively, to get the data that we need. It also allows organizations, they have to be responsive to us. They cannot just say, well, thank you for submitting something or giving us your opinion. We now add great weight. That is nothing that even our, so to speak, other organizations, our elected body, ANCs have. So we weren't asking for anything huge. What we were asking for was to be able to do our job, to be able to actually look at things and say, this is something we would like the State Board of Ed, the OSSE to take up. I think is important because we are out in the community listening to residents and they're bringing up issues, and we should be able to talk about what those issues are and present them in a reasonable way. I truly appreciate the work that the working group did. I think you guys were very deliberative, you guys were very collaborative, you guys were thoughtful, you were intentional about everything that you see now in this particular resolution. I also look forward, I'm sorry, Representative Goulet, I held such a tight timeline that the legislation is not accompanying it, but just trying to be more efficient and effective to make sure that staff can make sure they can get things done and published in a proper time. But I look forward to supporting this, and I look forward to the legislation that will come. Thank you. With all of that being said, seeing no other discussion, The motion is to adopt SR 25-6. Director Butler, will you call the roll?
Representative Mayer.
Aye.
Representative Ting.
Aye.
Representative Best.
Aye.
Representative Chang.
Aye.
Representative Colson.
Aye.
Representative Goulet.
Aye.
Representative Henderson.
Aye.
Representative Johnson Law.
Aye.
Representative Thompson.
Aye.
Vice President Williams.
Aye.
President Patterson. SR 25-6, State Board of Education Resolution recommendations for expanding State Board Authority has passed unanimously.
Thank you, Director. Members, are there any announcements or comments you would like to make before we adjourn? Okay, I can appreciate that. It's getting late. With no further business before the State Board, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Johnson Law moved,
Second.
seconded by Representative King. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes having it, and this public meeting of the District of Columbia State Board of Education is now adjourned.